should do it. Perfect. Okay. Testing the microphone. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Config. All right. Testing now. This time. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, not that high. A little lower. Hey, Trekkie, welcome back. Good to see you. How's the voice? How's the audio? Okay. All right. What are we doing next? I believe I'm going for tough. I think I said happiness next. Because I want to leave charity for later. I don't remember drive. I don't remember boating. I don't think I remember late shift. I want to leave talk for like... I could do happiness and talk. Hey Elmo, welcome back. Do your fleets. Oh yeah, Trekkie, you are in the corporation. You should be doing your fleets. Let's go with happiness. The day and the weeks are nearing their end, and you are welcome it in your own way, by lying sprawled out on your bed. It was quiet in your house, getting to that time of night where you really should be sleeping, but you didn't feel tired at all. You rolled onto your side. Outside, the last lit-up window across the street blinked out, leaving the buildings on the block faceless silhouettes against the blue sky, dotted by stars. Your phone came to life on the nightstand, a pale light cast on the ceiling of your room. He already said why, Trekkie, why not? 60 liters of cider? That sounds like a win to me. Without looking, you threw your arm out behind yourself, groping around on the tabletop until your phone was under your palm. At that point, you lifted it to your face, snorting once you saw the familiar name attached to a short message just reading, "Hey, you wake up in 3 hours, Emma, why are you not asleep? Go sleep." Code wasn't much for sleeping now either. You might need sleep meds, Elmo, yes. As you made to reply, though, more and more texts came through in quick succession. It doesn't seem like your sleeping meds are working very much, Elmo. You like doing things? You like doing things with me? I mean, what I'm saying is that there are things you and I do and we like together at the same time. Oh my god, Cove. You dork. Now that was eyebrow raising. You propped yourself up on one elbow, sitting upright against the headboard so you could text more comfortably. Yeah? Wow, you've got it all figured out? Dang, you suck at texting. Excited to see where this is going. You read about that, you waited for him to continue. Word vomit indeed. Okay. I'm thinking, yeah? Or, man, am I excited to see where this is going? Or? I'm pretty sure it's not Legos, but okay. The typing indicator dropped off and another pause followed. You snickered into the palm of your hand. It wasn't hard to imagine Cobb, red-faced and hunched over his phone in the dark, eyebrows furrowed as he tried to think of how to respond to your comment. But ultimately, he didn't even attempt to address it. For what I was saying? You're free for a while, right? When's your next shift? Not for a few days. Cool, I thought so. I was just making sure. Alright. You could almost hear Cobb's intake of breath as he prepared for the next part, despite the conversation being text alone. The window of your messaging app might as well have been a screenshot. We're left to keep track of the passing seconds with the rising and falling cries of crickets outside. When your screen darkened from inactivity, you wondered if you should do something yourself. Give him a nudge or wait until he's ready. I think this is more opportunity to tease him. Co, take your time. You're struggling with what to write, huh? Number 3, of course. Commit on the Legos. Mindful of everyone else asleep in the house, you did all you could to stifle your laughter. Keep going. I'm trying. And the next message came almost instantaneously. What if we did something new or sort of unexpected? Would you be okay with that? Something we haven't ever done together? Cove? Cove, just like that? Over text? Okay, Cove, you're bold. You lowered your phone, leaning back against the headboard as you thought it over. The devil is not in the Legos, Elmo. It's in the lettuce. That's why they call it the devil's lettuce. The streets outside your window looked different at night, but you knew that if you were to wander out, there would be no chance of you losing your way. There wasn't a single inch of your neighborhood that you didn't know by heart. And everywhere you looked, from the grassy hill behind your house to the shops by the beach, you could recall a time you'd been in there with Cobb, mostly just chatting as you walked together. You didn't mind everyday things like that, but as for something new or unexpected, I'd love that. What do you have in mind? What's good into you? I'd love that. I'm gonna go with I love that. For making the devil's salad the best salad. Legos del Infierno. I mean, I guess you could find Legos specifically from hell. Cool. And a heart. Aw, cute. Hey, Serbia, welcome back. Well, good to see you. One by one, Cobb began presenting his ideas, starting off with attending a play. We watched TV together, and movies, but real people performing in front of us. We've never done that. I'm not sure what plays exactly are on right now, but that adds to the unexpected factor. There was a pause before Cobb moved on to the next plan, visiting an aquarium. That makes sense, right? We go to the beach and stuff, we're pretty close to the water. But going to the aquarium would be water in a whole new way. The third and last idea was the one that was the most out of the blue. Ice skating. Ice skating? It was a total wild card, as Cobb was putting it, and the polar opposite of what the two of you normally did. However, it was sitting right in with the other options as something you had never done together. Let's say if, hypothetically, someone wanted to surprise you with an unexpected outing. What would that be okay? You couldn't help but smile fondly at that, wondering to yourself who that someone could possibly be. It would be perfect if that somehow happened. Joking was so much of a surprise. Said doing anything with him was good. ¿Dónde ha colocado las patatas? Elmo? Are you sure you're... What did you smoke, Elmo? If only a hypothetical someone existed. Great. Not that it means anything, but which one would be your favorite? It'd be... What do you think, guys? Play, the aquarium, or ice skating. Have fun. Thought we established this already? No, I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to smoke cider, Elmo. You're supposed to drink it. Fishies? But ice skating. I'm gonna try ice skating. The deal was out there that you couldn't not pick it, and it was a chance to see Kobo out of his element too. I've been to aquariums. They are pretty cool, yeah. Alright, cool. Don't think too hard about this talk. It doesn't mean anything. Making me laugh. Sure hope it means something. Sure. I promise not to try figuring it out. You're freaking adorable. Don't say that. Oh, that's so cute. Good night, Cory. It's really late now. Yeah, it is. Nighty-night. And with that final send-off, you put your phone to sleep and lowered it with a sigh. You had no idea when Kobo was going to invite you to the ice rink, but your mind was buzzing with all the possibilities the coming days might bring. Sleep well, Elmo. Take care. Your phone went back to its place on the nightstand and you resumed snuggling into the mattress, one hand thrown to the side and the other shoved under your pillow. Somewhere between this day and the next, you finally found yourself asleep. The next morning, after washing up from breakfast, you had just climbed the stairs to your room, ready to tackle the day, when you heard the ringing of the doorbell. You turned toward the sound, angling your head in confusion. Was someone expecting a visitor today? Then again, you weren't even sure if anyone else was around, judging by the lack of footsteps you were hearing. You raced back downstairs to answer the door. As you pulled it open and saw how it was, you were only further confused. Kobe? He was standing there with an unsure look on his face at first, like he didn't know who would answer the door, but the moment he saw it was you, a shy grin spread across his face. He raised one hand and gave you a little wave. Surprise? Hey, is this a surprise? Don't you normally use the window? What might you be here for this fine day? Number 2. You found it funny how you had grown so used to hearing him tapping that glass pane. What was number 3? That showing up at your front door was what it took to get a reaction. Cope turned his head to the side, with a considering lift of his eyebrows. I guess I do, but not today. I got you something. You lean against the doorframe and cross your arms with a put upon a cautiousness. Nah, the other one's better. I guess I do, but not today. I got you something. He slid his hands out from behind his back, holding it up in front of your face as he offered the present to you. Your eyes widened once you saw what it was. A white poppy. Oh, I hadn't expected a gift at all, let alone something as thoughtful as this. He took a step towards you, so close you could see the sunlight shining through some flyaway strands of hair on the top of his head. There was a quiet little tremor in his voice when he spoke again. Surprise again. Do you like it? Yes, it's my favorite. Or... I'm thinking one. You remember? He nodded in reply, smiling at you affectionately. Of course I do. Then, growing flustered by his own words, Cope averted his eyes with a nervous glance downwards. His gaze landing on the flower, Cope laughed to himself, a thought suddenly coming to him. My dad would be proud of me for doing this all on my own, huh? You chuckled, imagining the stumbling display of fatherly pride Mr. Holden would subject his son to. Suddenly, Cope raised his head, his eyes finding yours and startling you into stillness. Cope's question came softly, his voice lingering on some words as his shyness got the better of him. Cory, would you go on a date with me today? I was thinking maybe we could go ice skating. He inclined his head at you with a crooked smile. I had a feeling that might be a nice place to invite you to. I'd love to, yes. laughed at the ridiculous but managed to say yes. Of course you can ask me on a date, you nodded eagerly. Cope huffed a sigh of relief, his lips spreading in a wide, cheery smile. Alright, we're gonna do it. With his big question, phrasing, Cope, phrasing. With his big question asked and accepted, Cope raised the gift towards you again, gesturing with his other hand for you to receive it officially. You carefully took it from him. One moment, you guys. Give me a second. Alright, I'm back. I'll put this bad boy somewhere safe, and then we can get going. Cope had no problem with that. Still grinning, he stepped back, his body angling away as he waved a hand in the air. I'll get my car ready then. Meet me there. Okay. As soon as the door clicked shut, you dashed upstairs to your room, prepping a spot first for Cope's gift. Then, satisfied with your efforts, you grabbed your bag, tossing in whatever else you thought you'd need for the outing, before heading back outside. Cope's old car was parked right in front of the house. You went straight to it, hopping into the shotgun seat. As you buckled yourself in, Cope leaned forward to watch you with an eager expression, his fingers tapping the dashboard to a lively sort of rhythm. He was ready to start, but trying to tone it down so you wouldn't feel rushed. I'm glad we're doing this together. Me too. Once your seatbelt was secured, Cope checked his mirrors to make sure the street was clear before pulling away from the curb. And like that, the two of you began your trip. Now that you were sitting down for the drive, it felt like a good moment to regain your bearings. You shrugged your pack onto your lap and began thumbing through your things to make sure that in your hurry to leave, you hadn't forgotten anything important. Dressed more warmly to hopefully be prepared for the trip, normally, but packed extra, and didn't bring anything extra. Dress warmly. But in the meantime, you were left to sweat under the sweltering heat of the sun. You zipped it closed again, and Cope began to speak, raising his voice to be heard. Over the ambient noise of the car ride, I know, right? Should have seen that one coming. So, ice skating. This is gonna be crazy, having fun with water that's frozen? Unheard of. He chuckled at his own joke, and you shook your head at him, though you couldn't help grinning at his silly comment. Who knows, maybe in colder places it's the opposite that's weird? As you looked at him, you caught a glimpse of the back seat. It was empty, which wouldn't be strange any other day. You didn't bring a jacket? Nope, you know I hate extra layers, and there aren't any parents around to force me to do it now. You're gonna get sick, Cope. Oh my god, boy. Crazy. Yeah, your parents can tell you what to do. You're a big boy. Okay, scolding for not preparing. You're gonna regret that once we get there. I like that you didn't wear a lot of layers. Cope gave you a brief smile, smiling. Thanks for understanding. You laid your arm against the window, the scenery outside passing by in a blur, until finally you arrived at the ice skating rink. The two of you grabbed your things and got out of the car. A wave of heat, so thick it felt like you were swimming in it, hit you as soon as you set foot onto the sun-hot asphalt of the parking lot. Cope fell in step next to you, dragging the back of his arms across his face. You and Cove exchanged looks. Well, here we are, his tilted smile seemed to say. The skating rink was a large building of glass and concrete, with his name plastered in simple, white letters above the entrance. The nondescript, flat rooftop-style architecture reminded you a bit of the local mall. You went in. As the door slid shut behind you, you heard Cove's sharp intake of breath. You glanced over at him, seeing the stunned look on his face. Lips drawn, tight in a frown. It's really cold in here. No shit, Cove! Wow, you dark, of course it's cold. I guess you'll have to change your name from Cove to Cold, you made in a comment. What else did you expect from an ice skating rink? I don't know, I've only ever seen them on TV. I've only ever seen snow on TV. That, I do not understand that. How? Like, I live in a desert and I've seen snow in real life. Coop had his bottom lip stuck out and his arms wrapped around himself as he whined impudently. How about you? How are you feeling? I'm feeling just fine. There was no denying that the building was chilly, but it was a refreshing change compared to the sweltering heat of the parking lot. He laughed greedily. That's good. Your neighbor shuddered dramatically, almost retracting his head into his shirt in his renewed effort to keep warm. You held on to him to keep him warm, of course. You took a step toward him and wrapped him up in what you hoped eventually became a warm embrace. For a second, his body went even more rigid, but he quickly relaxed and gave you a self-conscious smile.
Thank you.
Thanks, Corey. See if you feel like thanking me after I force you to rent skates like this. His quiet laugh shook through his abdomen. You felt it on the side of your body right before he put his arm around your waist and pressed you closer, an unspoken sign that he had no problem with it. Like this, the two of you ambled over to the rental counter together. A slightly awkward process that had you unsure if you were going forward or sideways. The clerk ended up giving you two funny looks over the top of her glasses as you went through the process of paying for admission and finding skates in your size. But through it all, Cope didn't shiver once. Eventually, you had your skates. It was a particularly well-worn set, still sturdy, but where it had once been blue, it was now faded, and where it still had once been white, it was now closer to tan. With some time and a low bench, you both were set up with the rented shoes, and now stood by the opening of the rink. It was an oblong shape, surrounded by paneled walls with rails. Paneled wall with rails, okay. You were a little amused to see that there were others dressed in t-shirts and shorts, and you turned to Cope to point it out. The answer and laugh that came sounded a little distracted.
Well,
here we go. Tentatively, he took one step out onto the ice. You could tell by the way he put his hands out that he had been expecting to fall flat on his face, but his other foot followed with ease, and like that, he was standing upright. A relieved sigh left him. He took a few more steps to test it out. Nothing that could be mistaken for skating, but his legs were steady and kept his balance. His eyes were bright when he looked back at you. I'm doing it! You've never been ice skating before now, either. You came forward to join him and... Let's Mary Sue the shit out of this. Might as well. Expertly, you built up the little bit of momentum you needed and slid smoothly to a stop at his side, because you flew out onto the ice easily. Eyebrows raised in appraisal, Cope looked down at your feet as though he couldn't understand how they'd move like that. It's kind of amazing we're seriously ice skating right now, but this is what we decided to do. Actually stop being surprised over everything. A little bit, maybe. Let's skate. Yeah, let's skate. The two of you got into a rhythm, drawing long, leisurely circles around the edge of the ring, side by side. With increasing boldness, you even began to add in small jumps and twirls. White puffs of air released from you and Cope as you laughed and cheered each other on. There were also still plenty of moments spent clinging onto each other for that warmth against the unrelenting chill of the space. Eventually, you noticed Cope exhale deeply. He was getting tired. You scooted up to him, ready to take another breather, as he rested his arms on the bar in front of him.
Hey.
Hey, would it be alright to ask why you chose this place? What made it the favorite out of everything? It doesn't matter why, I'm just curious. I thought it'd be the most fun to do with you. I want to really see you out of your comfort zone. I also want to try skating. 1, 2, or 3 are fine, honestly. They're all good. I'm not sure which to pick. I'm thinking... yeah. Number 2 is interesting. But number 3 is very right. I'll go with 3 then. Oh, cool. You could tell Cobb was feeling pretty pleased with himself by the way his eyebrows rose and his smile curved. One of his suggestions was something you wanted to do, regardless, and he was considering that a success. With a second wind coming over Cobb, he was ready to get back out onto the ice fray. You joined him without hesitation. The hours slid right past you, and just like that, it was suddenly time to call it a day. After returning the borrowed skates, Cobb and you ventured out into the California air. Even though the sun was almost behind the horizon, it was still palpably warmer than inside the rink. Cobb rushed over to his car, his shivering hand clutched to yours. You let him pull you forward in his mad dash to the vehicle. Doors were opened and closed, seats were taken, the engine switched on, and the heat turned to max. At that, Cobb finally relaxed. Your foray into the freezing cold had ended, and nicely at that. A ways into the drive, Cobb glanced towards your direction. You stretched your arms as you shifted in the seat, waiting patiently for him to say what was on his mind. So I know this was unexpected, but thanks for coming along. Any day with you is a good one. Went to the trouble to plan this. But still the worst attempt at a surprise ever. It wasn't a good surprise, as it wasn't good as far as being a surprise. Everything else was great. Thank you for going to the trouble to plan this. You're welcome. It was no trouble at all. He spoke with a quiet confidence. He felt good about your reaction. The drive continued in comfortable silence. Cobb wore a content expression on his face that warmed your heart. Doing things like this with Cobb made you happy. Your heart skipped a beat thinking about how mutual the feeling seemed to be. Watching the passing scenery out the window, you relaxed into the seat. The time sped by. It wasn't too long before Cobb pulled into his driveway. Sighing happily, you got out of the car while Cobb came around to where you were standing. They stood there a moment, rolling a pebble under his shoe. I'll see you tomorrow? I'm counting on it. Thanks. After that, you and Cobb parted ways for the rest of the day. Even when you fell back into your normal routine, your mind refused to stop buzzing with the memory of your little adventure. As you crawled into the bed and closed your eyes, you were back in the best part of the day. You hoped Cobb's surprise would continue just a bit longer, and continue in your dreams. Holy shit, Corey. Chill, girl, chill. Okay. After breakfast the next morning, you were sitting with your mom and Liz. I was legit expecting a window appearance. While you were mildly listening to the conversation, the side of your face squished into the palm of your hand. Okay, so here there's a connector missing. While you were mildly listening to the conversation, with the side of your face squished into the palm of your hand, the doorbell rang. If you absolutely don't want to use a connector, I would say drop the and just say side of your face squished, but I think it doesn't work with the. Oh, I'll get it. She's getting older. I don't like this. Like the white in the hair, that's fine, but suppose it is fine she's getting older, but I don't know. I'll get it. Mom passed by you to the front door. Your eyes lazily followed her. Then you turned your attention to Maha and Liz. They were still chatting lightheartedly. You weren't sure about what. Your focus snapped back when your name was called from across the room. Hey Corey, you have a guest. At the door? Liz snorted and tried to hide her mouth with her hand. But you knew it was curling into a devilish grin. You silently pleaded with your eyes to keep it down. She did. I forgot that Liz knows that he comes to visit through the window. Be right there. On your way to the front door, Mom gave your shoulder a pat as you returned to the living room. When she moved by, you saw who was at the door. It was Cove again, a smile stretched out across his face, the moment your eyes met.
Hi.
Hi Cove, sweetie. Instantly, you looked over your shoulder to see Ma several feet away, but within eyeshot of the door. She waved. When you faced Cove again, he was looking at the girl shyly. It reminded you of the last time you had seen him the night before. That was all the push you needed to step outside, closing the door behind you for some privacy. You coming to the door all the time is starting to get weird. What do you have up your sleeve today? What's going on? And hi. Interesting, interesting. Hmm. 3 or 4, I'm thinking. Going 4. 3. Sorry, going 3. Pressing your arms, you leaned your back against the door. You already had a good feeling about where it was going. I'm glad you asked. Then Cope chuckled awkwardly. He didn't meet your eye as he pulled out another gift from behind his back. Surprise! Wanna go to the aquarium with me? What? You blinked and then switched to staring at him in bewilderment. Cope's eyes narrowed conspiratorially. The real surprise was that I'm gonna invite you to all 3 places. You never had to choose only one. I just needed to make sure that they didn't sound completely terrible. The longer Cope spoke, the quieter his voice became. He shyly scratched the side of his cheek. And to check if you'd be free. So surprise, again. You're so sweet. Thanks. His face grew red with a blush. Shyly, Cope looked away from you. Oh, do you like what I got you? He nods a present in his hands toward you, hoping that you'd take it. Until now, you hadn't completely registered it. It was a carefully chosen telescope lens. Aren't those, like, expensive? I do like it, thank you. I love it, you're so thoughtful. Hella expensive? Yeah, that's what I thought. Like if camera lenses are expensive. Telescope? $4 or $5 grand? Holy shit. I can't imagine it's a professional one. I love it, you're so thoughtful. I mean, they apparently live in the mildly affluent part of whatever California city they live in. So California town they live in. So it's probably. Maybe they're rich? I don't know. Cole's smile pulled into a beaming smile that reached his eyes, chuckling. You took the gift. Really wow. The hell happened there with my voice? I'm really glad you like it. Are you gonna accept the other part too? I'm already excited about the aquarium. Let's get going. Cal bounced a bit on the toes of his feet as he leaned over to kiss you. It was light, but you could feel his smile pressing into you, and every bit of happiness radiating off of him. Thanks for coming. I'll be in the car. You can go get ready. Alright. You sped back inside and spotted your family sitting around the table. They all turned and smiled at you. So what's the plan for today? Cole invited me to go to the aquarium with him. Ma clapped her hands together happily. Her smile beamed.
Have fun.
That sounds so fun. I hope you have a great time with Kobe. I will. You grinned back and looked over at Lise. She nodded, looking happy for you. It didn't take you long to get ready and dash out the front door. Cope was waiting for you as promised, and you both set out for day 2 of his surprise outings. And this time, it actually was a surprise. You settled in fully for the trip out to the aquarium in the city. It would be a bit of a drive, but you didn't mind. You made an attempt to start a conversation. It's kinda funny, we've never done this before now. Why haven't we? Probably because I've never thought about going to the aquarium with anyone before this. What? Our local ocean enthusiast has never gone to the aquarium? Yep, that's right. Never. And not just this specific one either. I haven't been to an aquarium, period. That's wild. Him? Even I've been to aquariums. Wow. This might be brand new for Cope, but you've been to this aquarium before. Hey, let's go for the second one. Your family had other priorities for their rare trips out to the city. It didn't seem like a big deal that you hadn't gone to the aquarium, but it still felt weird that Cope hadn't gone to the trouble before. Okay, what's the story for this? Cope tapped the tips of his fingers against the steering wheel, face scrunching in contemplation. When I was growing up, my dad did try to take me. I'd never been before because I was so little. I said no. Whenever he tried to talk about it, I'll tell my dad I'd rather go to the actual beach, on my own. Or he could at least take me to the fish part of the pet store, but not the aquarium. Eventually, he didn't ask about it anymore. He must have figured I had something against it. Then he stopped mentioning the aquarium. I stopped thinking about it. It just never came back to my mind. His expression shifted to one of bemused confusion. The thing is, I don't know what I had against it, if I did have a problem at all. Maybe I didn't like the idea of seeing water I wasn't allowed to go in, or to meet fish I could never bring home. That sounds like the kind of thing little me might have gotten upset over. Or maybe I just wasn't okay with doing a new kind of trip. It'd be to someplace new and with only my dad. Mom wouldn't be there anymore. Okay, Turkey, have fun. Okay.
I guess.
I guess that might have made it seem not worth doing right off the bat. That's 8-year-old me for you. Cope shook his head with a pained smile. Then his tone dropped to a distant whisper. It was only when thinking about stuff I could do with you that I finally remember I could go to an aquarium. Oh. He pulled his mouth to a bent smile. He straightened his shoulders. He didn't want to bring the mood down. It all worked out in the end, cause I got to really surprise you with the news, huh? Yeah, you totally got me there. You're adorable. I hope it'll be worth it now. Excited. We'll both be going there for the first time together. Me too. It'll be good. The conversation continued on with idle chatter about what you do when you got there. Then the large, angular building decorated with ocean-themed cutouts came into view. You'd arrive at your destination. You hopped out of the car and headed over to the imposingly large guest entranceway. Cope's head swiveled around to let his curious eyes take in every view, and you weren't even inside yet. You could see the realization of what he'd been missing out on down on him in real time. Cope bounced on the balls of his feet as the two of you stood in line to get tickets. His excitement continued to build. When you finally were face to face with the tanks, you could hear Cope quietly gasp from your side. He briskly took some large strides to get further into the room, and to get closer to the glass barrier. There, he stood still. After taking a moment for himself, he whipped around to look at you. Cope was outward vibrating with excitement. His mouth opened in a large smile, but all that came out was tiny squeak. Oh, okay, never mind. But all that came out was tiny squeaking giggles. It bubbled over into full giddy laughter before he was able to speak in earnest. Each word was full of joy. It's amazing. I love it here. I love it too. Of course you do. You had to laugh at the obvious conclusion. I'm really glad. I would love it too. He chirped back without hesitation. Yeah, the aquarium is great. The two of you wasted no time before rushing around the place. You went every which way across the aquarium. Cope was enthralled by each new sight. His eyes alight like a kid in a candy store, and a perpetual smile made its home on his face. No metaphorical stone was left unturned. He viewed all the tanks from his tallest of heights on tippy toes, as well as crouching as low as to the floor as he could manage. Your exuberance was just as bright as his, buoyed further by how happy you were that he had found such happiness. You beamed. After making an entire trip through the whole building, you and Cope finally slowed the pace down. You had arrived back at the original viewing room. It was a good spot for a break. Cope stood quietly near the tank in almost the same spot as he had when he first took in the view. Somehow that moment already felt like a long time ago. You weren't sure if he was feeling the same way. Cope simply watched the watery world inside with open fondness. He wouldn't get tired of that view ever. You were certain of that. You walked up to the stand by him, taking in the same otherworldly experience of having a sea right in front of you. Suddenly, Cope swallowed hard. Her head tilted. He wasn't looking at you. His eyes were glued to the vast ocean view in front of him. But his bright red face reflected clearly in the floor-to-ceiling glass pane separating aquarium goers from the water. You couldn't understand. Nothing had happened. Then realization came. This was Cope. He was flustered because he was thinking about doing something. Cope always got that way when he was mentally building himself up. You leaned against the hand railing with a smirk. You weren't going to take your gaze off of him for even a second. It was imperative that you didn't miss any of this. Whatever it was. She's so mean, I love it. So, there's a lot of fish in here, huh? That's right. Good job. Fucking hell, I love this. His mouth clamped shut after those vague, stuttered words. You could feel attention growing. After a breathless pause, he spoke again. You know, if you were a fish, you'd be a paradise fish. Because being with you is like being in paradise. Oh my god! That's so hecking cute. That's fucking adorable. Coop pressed his forehead against the glass with his eyes wide and gazed down as he fervently refused to even peek at what reaction you might be giving. He was blushing wildly, feeling unparalleled embarrassment over the line he just dropped. You smiled adoringly while watching him. You burst into laughter. You covered your face with your hands bashfully. You stood still, stunned. I'm thinking, let's try this. It was so unbelievable, so completely out of nowhere, and so totally not what you had expected when he started talking about fish. You had plenty of fish named knowledge up your sleeve to use for this too. It was too cute. It was unreal. You had plenty of fish named knowledge up your sleeve to use for this too. Let's send it back. Well, if you were a fish, you'd be a diamond tetra because you're a treasure, a clownfish. Oh, that's mean. Hissing gourami? At least hopefully you will be. A sunrise guppy because you're my adorable ray of sunshine. A teardrop butterfly fish because you cry a lot. Okay, I'm thinking... Let's go with number 3.
What?
What? He slapped a hand over his mouth after such a loud outburst in public. Toad had completely lost control of the conversation that he started, and he did not know what to do about that. Ultimately, he settled for turning his burning face away from you even more, but he managed to mumble a small reply. I mean, yeah, I could be that, if you want me to. Oh yeah, I want you to, that's why I said it. Okay. Cove's face finally tilted to be in front of yours again. His hand reached toward your cheek as his mouth leaned in to find yours. You gladly met him part way there to look the gentle kiss under the deep glow of the aquarium lights. It felt pretty nice, though not without some awkwardness. You felt the embarrassed smile he was making as you pressed your lips together. He laughed breathily when you parted. This little chat had ended a lot better than either of you likely had imagined. After that, Cove wanted to go around the aquarium again. He hoped to let it all sink in at a more leisurely pace while you were here. Plus, he desperately wanted more time to settle down after his latest big attempt at flirting. The two of you began your second loop down the paths. It took no time at all to become absorbed in the incredible sea life once more. There wasn't nearly enough time in a single day to satisfy Cove's desire to exist inside of the aquarium, but the day did have to end eventually. Despite obviously wanting to linger longer, Cove left the building with a skip in his step. It'd been a good trip. The two of you shut your doors, the doors of Cove's car behind you as you took your usual seats. The clicking of seatbelts punctuated the end of the adventure. I could absolutely do that again. No kidding. Cove chuckled as he pulled the car out of the parking lot, spirits still as high as ever. The car ride home went by far too fast. You and Cove were in good spirits and spent the ride chatting and laughing, bouncing around various topics. But you didn't ask the question that sat all day in the back of your mind. Why was Cove doing all of this in the first place? Again, you both parted ways for the night in the neighborhood street. You watched Cove head inside with a quick wave. You were halfway to your own house when a familiar voice called out to you. Turning on your heel, you spotted Mr. Holden. He lightly jogged over to talk. Hey, how are you? I'm good. Great, I was just getting home from work. What are you up to? Or rather, what were you up to today? Me and Cove went to the aquarium. Cove and I went to the aquarium. You did, huh? Sounds fun. It was fun. And it was also a surprise, which is weird since usually Cove and I, not hanging out. Actually, this one might just be Cove and me. Yeah. Cove and me would not hanging out would be what's so surprising. Crossing your arms, you gave a quick laugh. Mr. Holden frowned, rubbed the back of his neck, and studied you for several silent moments. Right, so, Corey, what's going on there? Something is going on, isn't it? Huh? Wait, what made you say that? There's not a problem, right?
So,
I'll answer your question if you answer mine. Deal? That was Mr. Holden, always trying to make deals with you. But you could deal with it. Alright, you have yourself a deal. You held out a hand to make it official. Mr. Holden's smile widened as you reached it out and shook it. What's the story? The truth is, Cove's been doing a lot for me lately, way more than usual. For 2 days in a row now, he's planned special dates and gifts too. I don't know why. Cove's father nodded contemplatively. He accepted the situation easily. It actually makes a lot of sense considering. Hey, is this something secret you shouldn't be sharing? Feeling some tenseness, your teeth sank into your bottom lip. On the other hand, Mr. Holden chuckled. If it's supposed to be a secret, Cove's been awful at hiding it. He's doing it out in the open, so I didn't think that's what he cares about. Your head tilted just a little to the side as you watched Mr. Holden. You were honestly curious what his side to this was. As long as it was alright to hear, you wanted to know. There was a pause. He wasn't sure of what to say next, or how to phrase it at least. Honestly, I've been the littlest bit worried about Cove lately. He's gotten really up in his head about something. But it's not exactly a bad thing. It's tough to know how to even bring it up. I'm not sure if I should try to have a talk about it. The longer he spoke, the wider your eyes were with concern. There was more happening than a few meaningless hangouts. It's okay. He raised his hands in a calming motion when he noticed your reaction. Let me explain. I noticed Cope's been getting lost in thought more often recently, and he sometimes has his laptop out in the living room. He leaves it laying around on the couch or puts it on the coffee table. I have a clear view of it from there, and I can obviously see him looking stuff up on it. Cope keeps searching one phrase, and different wordings of it too. Then he'll spend ages clicking through the linked results. The line is, how do you make someone happy? Just that again and again. You had to consciously close your mouth after that, and you didn't know what to say. To even say after hearing that revelation. Mr. Holden gently beamed. Isn't he such a good kid? He continued, but his tone was rueful. Unfortunately, I can relate all too well to that conundrum. Who am I to judge, huh? Mr. Holden shrugged in an exaggerated way to lighten the mood back up. Before, I was thinking Cope might have got into a fight with somebody, but now it sounds like I was way off the mark. Cope clearly has other plans on the brain. I'm even more confused on whether this is something I should get into or not. You know, actually, I was wondering if you could have a little chat with him about what's going on. It sounds like you're at the core of Cope's sudden study sessions, so he might feel more at ease talking about it with you. Or more embarrassed, but he'd still probably do it. I would really appreciate it. Your gaze trailed over to the Holden residence. Mr. Holden made a very good point, you had to admit. I'll do it.
Good kid.
You're also a really good kid. You shook your head with a smile and started walking towards where the Cope went. After a few steps, you realized that Mr. Holden wasn't following. You glanced back at him. I'm gonna hang out here for a bit. Make sure you have some space to talk without a parent in the way. The door's probably unlocked, so go right in. Okay. But you hesitated for a moment. Mr. Holden's smile faded. Thanks for talking with me. This has been on my mind too, and I think it'll be good to ask Cope if everything's okay.
Absolutely.
Agreed. It'll all shake out right in the end, I'm sure. Mr. Holden grew much happier than he was moments ago. Feeling ready, you turned right around and went into the house. Hey, Cope was sitting on the couch with his aforementioned laptop open. He peeked up at you with a puzzled look, and then it melted into a smile. I thought you were my dad. You forget something? Nope. I hope you're not too disappointed it's just me instead of your dad. Your father and I, we were actually talking a minute ago. What are you doing on your laptop? I hope you're not too disappointed it's just me instead of your dad. As your teasing words sank in, you watched a smirk grow across his face. You crossed your arms and grinned.
No way.
No way. Why are you here? Cautiously, lightheartedly, bluntly, you asked Cope about his searching. We need to talk about something. Okay. Ominous fucking words. Okay. Cope closed his laptop and laid it on the couch cushion next to him. He got up, shuffled past the coffee table, and stopped right in front of you. He spoke in a hushed tone, only hearable because of the new closeness. Is everything alright? You tell me. I heard from your dad that you've been fixated on the idea of how to make someone happy. Why? Is something wrong? No, is anything wrong? And what is that? Are you mad? No, I guess I really was distracted. I didn't think people around would actually be paying attention or taking note of things. He chuckled awkwardly at himself. Cope, will you tell me why you felt like you're doing that so much?
Corey.
Cope looked at you with large, earnest eyes. I did it because I want you to be happy. I want you to be happy too. You don't have to do something big, do some big expensive surprise for that. You can just be yourself. You already make it happy. That's seriously it. You're killing me, Cope Holden. Stunned, your eyes started tearing up. Didn't know how to react. So Cope stuttered out another laugh, and the tension in his shoulders eased. You put a hand to your face and shook your head. Killing you? Oh no, that's the exact opposite of what I wanted. Alright, let's go for another one. His words slammed right through your chest and clung to your heart. There was nothing you could do to stop the tears blurring your vision. Oh, Corey. Coop's voice came out in a whisper as he stepped even closer to you. You could feel the nervous energy coming off of him. His gaze fell to the floor, and he defaulted to rubbing at his arm.
Sorry.
I wasn't trying to make you or Dad concerned. Okay. You already make me happy. That was flew out of your mouth without a second thought. Coop's face instantly started to turn red, and his mouth twitched. Thank you. Another laugh squeaked out of him. Now he was completely frazzled on what to say. Okay. I want you to be happy. I am happy. His gaze okay. You don't have to do some big expensive thing. Thank you for thinking that, for telling me. I don't know. You already make me happy. Another laugh. I
Sorry.
wasn't trying to make you or Dad concerned. I didn't want to upset anyone. Sorry. I'm definitely not upset. Your dad isn't either. Code nodded, but he was still lost in thought. What made you start doing this all of a sudden? Did I do something? No. Then what happened?
I don't know.
I don't know. With a deep frown, Code looked back at you and repeated the phrase. Each time the inflection was different, like he intended to say something different, but was coming up with the same non-reply. I don't know. I don't know anything. He ran a hand through his hair, trying to understand his own motivations. I guess maybe with everything that's been happening and everything that's coming soon, it just kind of hit me that we're neighbors. A quick snort of air came out of your nose from his conclusion. Yeah? I mean, you lived right across the street from me for 10 years. The only other kid who grew up in this whole neighborhood is your older sister. His weak smile bent. And then there's our parents. They're sure we're putting in the effort for the two of us to get to know each other. The matchmakers there. The parents definitely tried hard to matchmake. Coop shook his head with a laugh. His gaze was far away as he nostalgically reflected on the history you had. Basically, everything in our lives was set up for us to be together. It was always effortless. And why not? It practically went without saying that we'd be around each other, but it won't be like that forever. Our parents can't always be there to arrange things. We can't live in the little world of this street forever. Do I even know how to make it work when I don't have every advantage possible? I've made you happy in the past, but could I keep doing it? What even is it that I do that makes you happy? Coop started to run a hand through his hair again, but he stopped partway through. He looked at you earnestly. He's so fucking sweet. It was like breathing. When you're just going through life, you do what you're doing without even thinking. And then something reminds you that you're breathing, and you become way more conscious of it. Being with you is the same. I do what I normally do without pondering deeply on it. But now, all this stuff made me start thinking about it. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. I felt like I needed to try harder, to make an effort. For you, for the relationship we had, I had to... And well, that's what I did. Coop scratched the back of his neck. He looked sheepish now. It seemed like such a good idea in my head. It made complete sense. But maybe it was dumb. You punched his arm. You threw your hands around him in a hug. You kissed him. You started crying. You laughed. Those are some really good answers. You laughed. It was small at first, and then it grew into an uncontrollable deep laughter. Coop stared at you with wide eyes while you tried to compose yourself. Stepping back, you took a deep breath. Coop shifted how he was standing and watched you bashfully. You always make me happy. You started crying. There was nothing you could do to hold back the flow of tears trailing down your cheeks. Coop stared at you with wide eyes, panicked. Stepping back, you took a deep breath. Okay. Punch his arm. Hey. Okay. Throw your arms around him, facing his chest. Alright, let's end it with a kiss. Closing the space between you both, you laid a hand on his chest and tilted your chin up and pulled him lower. Coop easily moved with you, placing his hands on your hips, and you both melted into the kiss. Stepping back, you took a deep breath. Coop shifted how he was standing and watched you bashfully. You're so precious, you're a big moron. You know, it's okay to tell me when you're feeling like this. I'm gonna go with this. You watch him with bleeding eyes. You didn't want him to keep things like this to himself. He nodded carefully. I'm glad I'm here for you. Cove, you're my boyfriend. Even if us meeting is thanks to circumstances out of our control, that doesn't matter. We're close because of who we really are. We found something in each other that made us want to be together. Nothing can take that away. There was a pause where neither of you were certain who was going to speak next. Coop sniffled.
Wow.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you for looking out for me. Even when I didn't even notice I was doing something worth checking in on. You're amazing. You're welcome. If someone has to do it, it's no problem. You nodded. You're welcome. After your conversation with Mr. Holden, you really weren't sure what to expect. You breathed a happy sigh of relief now that things were a million times better. Cope chuckled, now that everything was out in the open. His words were lighter. I gotta thank my dad too. I can always count on him to be around. I have such good people in my life. He smiled softly. Cope withdrew a bit, looking shy. Can I still show up tomorrow and invite you on the last surprise outing? Yes, I'll see you in the morning. I'll see you first thing in the morning. Coop brightened hearing that from you, grinning ear to ear. You honestly couldn't think of anything better than seeing the earnest look in his eyes. He simply wanted to spend time having fun with you. I can't wait. Me neither. Coop leaned down so he could kiss you, and your lips parted. You saw that his were curled in a smile. He wrapped his arms around you and tucked you in close. You're really nice. Your lips gladly met his once more. Coop smelled good, like a heady mixture of fresh citrus and sea breeze. You'd mutually snared each other with a kiss, unwilling to let it end until Coop abruptly glanced around as if he was seeing the location of for the first time. He ducked his head bashfully peering at you out of the corner of his eyes. We're kind of in the middle of the living room. He mumbled the words, his grip on you tightening. My dad might come in soon, but you know, my room is right over there, so maybe we could go there if you wanted to. Cove! That's bold. Okay. I'm good with that. We're gonna have to keep, I'm good with just that. We're gonna have to keep going. Okay, we can do that. Oh yeah, right, let's go. Sissy's hand and led the way. Yep. It didn't waste a second taking hold of your boyfriend. There was no time to lose, as far as you were concerned. Cope staggered, the force of your sudden tug nearly keeling him over, but he managed to catch his balance. He hurried down the hall along with you, clinging desperately to your hand. You were the one who opened the door as you both pushed through as one. Cope smoothly closed the door after him, using the heel of his foot, not allowing his hand or attention to be diverted from you for even a moment. He took you into his arms fully, holding you close to his chest. You inhaled another waft of his invigorating fragrance as you stared into his open, eager eyes. Okay! Fascinating choices here. Pushed him down on the bed, complimented, kissed him, gripped his hair, kissed him lightly over and over, slipped a hand under his shirt, nibbled his neck, or touched his thigh. Holy shit. Let's start with this. Let's see what it says. Reaching down, you ran a hand along his thigh. He tensed, then gave you a wobbly smile, as if feeling bad about how much he was impacted by the sensation. As you continued to stroke your hand along his leg, he bit his lips, eyes fluttering closed. Coop reached over and let his fingertips go down your spine. As you sighed, he allowed his palm to brush against the cup and cup your butt. Okay. You gripped him tight and immediately. He left you just speechless as you had done to him. Okay, you get to do all of them. Interesting. Let's go with the neck. You pepper his neck with kisses and tiny bites in equal measure. Your teeth grazed against his skin, pressing hard enough to make him shiver, then compensating with a soft kiss. Cope sighed dreamily, letting himself get lost in the moment. He instinctively pressed his body up against yours, but full of yearning for you. Okay. Push him down on the bed, taking his shirt in your hands, in your fist, one hand on his wide on his waist and the other on his chest. You pressed him over towards his bunk. Cope stumbled over his feet. It wasn't easy, moving backwards as someone else set the pace, but he soldiered on. Once you judged that it was close enough to the bed for a soft landing, you opened your hand against his chest and toppled him over. He didn't resist, falling back onto the bed with a gasp. You climbed on top of him. The mattress gave gently under the pressure. Your knees sunk slightly as you planted them on either side of Cove's body. Cove's breath hitched, a much quieter sigh slipping from his mouth as the surprise gave way to realization of the position you both were in. He looked up into your face with nervous excitement. Alright, let's go with this one. You sprinkled Cove's mouth with short kisses. He was always coming back for more. Cove responded in kind each time, aching for your touch. The tease of getting only a brief connection seemed to make him crave you even more. What the fuck is this one? His hands roamed up and down your back, memorizing the outline of your body. It's pretty on. The gap of time between each kiss shrinking until it was nearly as quick as the kisses themselves. Okay, you complimented him. You're beautiful, you're stupid and beautiful, you're so hot, you're really sexy, you're perfect, just absolutely perfect. Good grief. Perfect. No other word could describe him. Cope sputtered while covering his face with a hand. From between his fingers, you caught his eyes closing as you spoke. Your words of praise rendering him unable to look at you directly. But you could also see his mouth spread wider with every syllable you uttered. He squeaked with delight, unable to construct a sentence or even form a single word. You grinned at his reaction. Okay, slipped a hand under his shirt. You shifted your weight on the bed to one arm so that you could trail a hand down his shirt. Your fingertips glided down the soft knit of his cotton t-shirt, reaching the hem situated right above the pants. You toyed with the fabric to give Cope some warning about your next move. He made no attempt to stop you or get away, so you slipped a hand beneath his top, your palm grazing over his stomach. Cope's breath came out faster in hard pants. What the fuck? Am I gonna get a warning for this? Cope's breath came out faster in hard pants. He brought his forehead to rest against yours. You felt each hot puff of breath tickle your face. You moved your hands upwards, reaching his pecs. Cope gripped your shirt within his fist, twisting and pulling at it as you touched him. He mumbled something, even with your face so near to his, close enough that you could count every tiny eyelash. You couldn't make out anything resembling a word. You translated instead, based on the tone. He was enjoying it. Your hand roamed, your fingers rising and falling across the grooves of his chest, occasionally squeezing tight muscle to watch Cope's trembling reactions. As you finally retrieved your hand from under Cope's shirt, he let out another heavy breath. Cope enveloped you in his arms completely, strapping across your torso and back in order to bring you close in for a kiss. As he kissed you, the pressure from his mouth and arms increased. You could feel his legs shifting along your sides. And then he used his newfound hold on you to roll over without warning. You were abruptly laid flat on your back, the mattress beneath you, while Cope pinned you down from above. It knocked the little breath you had left right out of you. The kiss ended, but he had yet to open his eyes. You were both frozen. It was only when he slowly lifted his half-lidded ocean eyes look at your face that he understood what he'd done. Okay. You get to watch comprehension dawn on his face as he first frowned, puzzled by the change in view. It was then eased by understanding, followed by mortification as his face flooded with color.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. He exerted himself abruptly but carefully, trying to avoid pushing down on you further as he got up. Okay, so you can't use all of them. And I want to. Complimented him. Perfect. Slipped the hand under his shirt. You gripped his hair or kissed him deeply. You pressed your mouth against Cope's, holding it there in a longing kiss. It was only when the need for her became too much that you finally broke apart. Cope inhaled rapidly, then leaned in again. This time he gently slid the tip of his tongue against your lower lip. Startled, you let out a tiny exclamation of surprise. Was that alright? Yes. Definitely. You responded by returning it. Cope jolted beneath your touch, then quickly melted into the kiss. He responded in kind, kissing you deeper and deeper as you both sought more of each other. Cope enveloped you in his arms completely, strapping across your torso and back in order to bring you in close for a kiss. Okay, and I need more to go back a little more. One more. Okay, so. Damn, even more. Okay, pushing down. Then you touch his thigh. Then slip the hand under. As you finally retrieved your hand from under Cope's shirt, he let out another heavy breath. Then you complimented him. You're perfect, just absolutely perfect. Or you're stupid and beautiful. You two seem lovely. My dumb, gorgeous guy. Bill sputtered while covering his face. Okay, and then kiss him deeply. Yes, respond back. And you gripped his hair. Finalize it with that. You shifted your position on the bed and looped a hand under his head. You coiled your fingers in his hair and subtly took hold of it. In response, Cope reached out and laid a hand on the side of your face. The path of his thumb softly circled against your cheek. Using your varying vantage points, you pulled closer together, your lips meeting in a kiss. Then you let your hand drift back down lower. Cope enveloped his arms completely, strapping you across your torso and back, in order to bring you in close for a kiss. As he kissed, the pressure from his own arms increased, and you could feel his leg shifting along your sides. And then he used his newfound hold to roll over and pin you down from above. You were both frozen. It was only when he slowly let his half-lidded ocean eyes look into your face that he understood what he'd done. You got to watch comprehension dawn on his face as he first frowned, puzzled by the change in view. It was then eased by understanding, followed by mortification as his face flooded with color.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. He extracted himself abruptly, but carefully, trying to avoid pushing down on you further as he got up, primly taking a seat on the edge of the bed. He didn't say anything else. He didn't need to. From the way he was studiously looking anywhere but at you, you knew at once that he was too embarrassed to go any further. The blush that reached all the way to the tips of his ears was merely extra confirmation. Cope had accidentally shown more proactiveness than it seemed he was ready to admit to. His embarrassment was adorable. You considered lounging on the bed some more, but felt that was too cruel to your poor, shy boyfriend. Instead, you sat up and gave him space to recover. He cleared his throat, trying to regain some control over the situation. I wish you could stay, but it's getting late. You need to head home and get some rest. He looked at you, attempting to feign an innocent expression. I mean, what if something just happened to happen tomorrow? You had to laugh. Cope cracked a smile, acknowledging his poor attempt at subterfuge. How about I walk you back? Nope, I'm not letting you go on such a long and dangerous journey. Stay here, but avenge me if I don't make it. Then let me walk you to the door at least. Alright. I'm surprised he can walk at all without, hunching over himself to hide something. You silently headed back into the living room together, comfortable with each other's presence. You stopped by the front door. Good night, Corey. His voice was soft, like a comforter you just wanted to wrap around yourself forever. But Cope was right. You had to go for today. Good night, Cope. With that, you opened the door and stepped outside. When you walked out into the street, you noticed that Mr. Holding was still standing out there. He looked up at the sound of the door closing behind you. He smiled, his phone in his hand, and smiled as he sized up the situation.
Oh?
You weren't there for a while. I hope that's good news. Everything is fantastic. I got it all taken care of. Sorry for keeping you out here. Were you really gonna stand out here until in the dark until I left? And thanks for letting me know about this. Let's try this one. He waved it off. I didn't mind giving you guys a white berth. I had no clue how sensitive the issue was. I wasn't about to risk messing it up by poking around where I wasn't needed. Besides, I was chatting with Gregorio, Derek's dad, my very professional business partner. Our professional business things. It's fine. Oh, interesting. Cobb's dad and Derek's dad as a pairing. I like it. Everything is fantastic. Great. Glad to hear it. Oh, it's raining. Cool. Everything truly resolved. You exchanged goodnight wishes with Mr. Holden before continuing the very brief trip home. Not wishing to disturb anyone, you quietly snuck inside and gently pushed the door closed behind you. As it clicked into place with minimum fuss, you let out a sigh. Your mind buzzed as you climbed the steps up to your room. Cobb had done so much just to make you happy, and you knew he'd be back tomorrow with another big surprise. You were determined to fully appreciate his effort. You wanted to prepare a gift to surprise him with too. Make him surprised. Interesting. So it was aquarium, skating rink, and a play. I'm gonna surprise you. I'm sorry. You solved it enough was enough. You were gonna thank him with a gift and surprise him with a change of plans. Go had brought you 2 gifts already, and odds are a third was coming. It was time to turn the tables and have something ready to give him. At this hour, that was easier said than done. Most stores were long closed, and Cobb would be here bright and early to surprise you tomorrow morning. That ruled out purchase and a gift the way that he'd done for you. Luckily, you'd known Cobb long enough to see a solution to this problem. Your neighbor was always a happy boy when he was given food. I'm sure you could wrestle something fitting that description out of the kitchen one way or another. Feeling invigorated, you spun around and sped back downstairs. It was time to put your plan into action. You're a great chef. You could make something he loved. Disaster in the kitchen. You weren't sure how you'd manage making something he loved. You were going to find something he loved that didn't need preparation. Some way to make. Struggled, manage. We're Mary suing the shit out of this one, okay? So you were a great chef. You could make something he loved. You sized up your options. With an early start, you'd be able to pull together something simple in the morning. If you wanted to go for something more elaborate and time-consuming, you need to do it right now. There was also the option of rallying the troops. Your moms knew how to cook wonderfully, and you could easily persuade them to give you a hand with this. Do it alone. It's more special if you do it alone, I think. It was for the best. Cinnamon rolls. Oh. Make banana peanut butter and honey sandwiches. Make cinnamon rolls. Even as a grumpy little boy who just moved in, cinnamon, sugar, and frosting had brought a smile to his face. He was going to light up with childlike glee when he saw what you had planned. There was no time like the present. You found a suitable recipe and started pulling ingredients out, ready to be measured. Once you had everything you needed lined up and ready for attention, you began working through their steps. You made the dough quickly, knowing it would need time to rise before it would be ready to roll out, and let you continue the recipe. You strapped the dough into a bowl with cling film, hoping that the yeast would do its job. No. You put the dough into a bowl and covered it with cling film, hoping that the yeast would do its job. You are not strapping anything to a bowl. You didn't have worried. An hour later and the dough had doubled in size, just as promised. You continued with the recipe, rolling out the dough, layering it with the cinnamon sugar filling that Cobb had so loved, and readied the rolls for the oven. Soon the kitchen was full of sweet smells as heat joined the ingredients into one. As you waited for the timer, your mind continuously drifted back to younger days. You recalled the chatter of tourists and seagulls on the busy shopping street that had felt so vast when you were a child. Eventually, a beeping brought you back to the present. The rolls luckily came out fluffy and golden, naked without They were white frosting coats. You whipped that up while they were baking, but you had to fight the urge to ice them right away. Until they cooled, any frosting you put on them would melt right away. Once you were satisfied that they'd cooled down, you topped them with a sufficiently thick layer of frosting. You dusted off your hands, satisfied with a job well done. With your mission accomplished, you headed back up to your room. You took the steps lightly, feeling buoyed as you imagined how happy Cope would be with your unexpected gift. Cope's plan was extremely thoughtful, just like him, but he couldn't let him be the only one concocting schemes. With his attention diverted on his own surprise, it was the perfect opportunity for one of your own. He'd never see it coming. That didn't mean that thinking of something was going to be easy. You wouldn't want to do anything that might risk making him uncomfortable, or a random activity just for the sake of doing something new. It needed to be something he'd actually want to do. You thought about Cope. The obvious destination was the beach. He never got tired of the sea, no matter how many hours he spent with it. And while there were many beaches in California, and you knew he'd be happy with any of them, a trip to a shore wouldn't quite cut it this time. After all, you'd both still inevitably wind up doing the same things you always loved to do on the beach, and time would pass in much the same way as it would if you were still in your hometown. You wanted this blonde to be something special. Luckily, as much as Cope associated himself with the ocean, you're one of the few people who knew that there was another, quite different type of location that he treasured. Surprising him with a trip to somewhere else with that element was absolutely the kind of moment that he'd cherish forever. Pulling up your browser on your phone, you searched the phrase "Sunset Bird, White Poppy Field." Smiling to yourself, you settled down and began the hunt for the perfect spot. Cope was working so hard to make you happy. You dearly wanted your partner to be happy too. You could only hope your efforts would work as well for him as his plans were working for you. You were up early the next day, ready and waiting for Cope's inevitable appearance. Your ears were perked, listening for the doorbell, but instead what you heard was a familiar rapping on the window pane. There was no need to look to know who that was. Only one visitor used your window as his personal entranceway. Getting up, you headed over to let him in. You gazed into your neighbor's face as you unfastened the window. Opening it wide, he smiled at you, still crouched on the window ledge. Hi, glad you're here. Surprise? Surprise? Tired of using the front door already? Cope's laugh was airy as the cotton candy sold on the boardwalk. He was in good spirits. Surprise? I'm really keeping you on your toes. What will I do next? He waggled his eyebrows at the joke as you stepped back to let him enter the room. Today he clambered through with extra difficulty thanks to the object he was clutching securely. You guessed it was another gift. You really didn't need to bring me anything else. Though you were sure Cope must have planned this long in advance, you couldn't help feeling like you were doing something wrong by taking so much. His presence was already a present in itself. Cope smiled bashfully, glancing down at the item in his hands before holding it out to you. With a bit of flair, Cope clinked together two mugs, like he was giving a toast. Both Copes were stamped with a Sunset Bird town symbol. One for you and one for me. I thought it'd be pretty fitting, with us sticking it out here for a while longer. His eyes were trained on you, searching for your emotion on it. I hope you like it. You kissed him. You hugged him, you felt tears, shook your head, smiled at him. At this point, it has to be this one. In no time at all, you closed the distance between you and brought your lips to his. Though startled, Cope happily returned the kiss while still holding your present carefully. Thank you. Thank you, this means a lot to me. He chuckled self-consciously as he gave a long look to the meaningful gift he had selected. It was as if it was growing heavier in his hands. I really do support your goals. I just want you to know that. I know, Cope. Then you accepted the thoughtful present into your own grasp. Only once it transferred ownership and cemented it with your approval did Cope straighten up and pull himself together. Okay, well, would it be alright for me to take you out today? We could, I don't know, go to the theater? He smirked, already anticipating that you'd say yes. You smiled to yourself, wondered how to break your country surprise to Cope. Nope, I'm not doing that. Grinning, you shook your head. Surprise, change of plans. Actually, I got something else in mind. It's a surprise. Huh? It passed as if Cope was waiting for a punchline that didn't come. He tilted his head, nonplussed by your declaration. There's somewhere else I'd like to go today. Would you come with me? Or, nope, I'm not doing that. Huh? Okay. They're pretty much the same.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with surprise.
Huh?
His mouth hung open and the rest of what he was trying to say disappeared into thin air. The shock hadn't even started to wear off, but he found one more word. Okay. You were thrilled to have him on board. Now the two of you could focus on putting that plan into action. The first part is already here. You can have it now. What, really?
What?
It was amazing how surprised he was. Cope had spent 3 days raining gifts and special trips on you, but he hadn't at all counted on you doing something in return. What is it? Stay here for a second and I'll show you. Okay. He watched you expectantly as you turned around to head downstairs. He reached where the cinnamons were waiting and collected the prize. As you fled back around to your room, gift in hand, there was a smile playing out across your face. Cope was patiently waiting for where you had left him, tapping his fingers against the sides of his pants. Hope it's enough for a growing boy like you. It's a thank you gift. You let the present do the talking. Surprise. He looked curiously, barely believing that you'd gone to the effort to select a present for him at such short notice. You handed the gift over for his inspection. His eyes widened as he saw the treat. I meant this myself, so set your expectations and reactions accordingly. Oh! He blinked, the present totally taking him by surprise, but his eyes were alight with glee. You made me cinnamon rolls? I love them, though I don't get them a lot. They're not the kind of thing we normally have around. He glanced up at you shyly. I can't believe you still remembered. It's amazing. He chuckled. You chuckled, recalling those moments long ago that you spent together. How could you not remember days with a guy like him? The sentimental air was quickly dispersed as he scooped up a cinnamon bun and gracelessly squished half of it into his mouth. Well, does it get the Cope seal of approval? Cope kept chewing, gesturing apologetically to his occupied mouth. Finally, after what felt like an age, he swallowed. It's so good. It's the best one I've ever had. Cope wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, now a little calmer after the initial burst of excitement. His feelings instead settled into an easy, warm affection.
It's nice.
Thank you for this. It's so nice of you. You're welcome. I would give anything for you. Yep. He chuckled shyly, tucking his head into his shoulder self-consciously. You don't have to give anything, though. I'm already yours. Your face got significantly hotter after that blunt statement. Even though you certainly hadn't forgotten he was your boyfriend, the way he said it left you speechless. His features softened, and you felt like you were being thoroughly appreciated. The food you gave was also getting his due attention. He'd already gone in for a second serving. You couldn't blame his indulgence. That said, the amount you'd given him was enough for several servings. Far more than Cope could usually finish at once. You made sure of it. But as he continued to devour it, you were starting to suspect that polishing it all off was the goal. In spite of the generous portion, he was willing to try and eat it all in order to show you how much he liked the present. You're gonna make yourself sick. It's okay to save some for later, I don't mind. Maybe it was a bad idea. You could tell that he wanted to show how taken he was with this gift, but you'd not presented it to him as a challenge to be overcome. Go finish his current bite and let out a satisfied sigh. Alright, I'll stop for now. There's other stuff to do, and I can have more later. You smiled at him, relieved that your gift would be enjoyed and not inhaled. But once Cope had consumed as much as he could manage for the time being, you packed the rest back for later. It was time to direct him to the next part of the surprise. I'll drive this time. He accepted easily, going along with your mystery plan without resistance. That was a relief. He was definitely curious, and you weren't going to let his hopes down. No time was wasted as you left your house immediately after establishing the new surprise plan. You hurried out into the street, and practically jumped into the car, Cope tottering behind you at your heels like a faithful hound. Your excitement was obviously rubbing off on him. You drove with purpose, your mind solely on the destination. Not even Co's puppy dog eyes could distract you from your goal or implore you to spill the secret of where you were headed. When you finally came to a stop, it was in a parking lot, out in the middle of nowhere. You confidently unclipped your seatbelt, while Cobb looked around, bemused. Here we are? He looked at you for confirmation. You were happy to provide it. We're here. At that, the two of you got out of the car. Cobb turned to you, evidently still baffled, but optimistic for what would be coming.
So?
What now? Cover your eyes. I'll lead you in the right direction. I'm gonna cover your eyes. You need to let me lead the way. Cobb snorted in a decidedly smug manner. Can you reach? Yes. Yes, but if you keep talking like that, I won't need to because the surprise will be cancelled. I totally can, you hot jerk. Fine, you can cover your own eyes. Though he'd been teaching you, he kind of had a point. You puffed yourself up, daring him to contradict you. Whatever you say, Curry. He obliged you by your orders, and as you got him into place, you appreciated how easily he was playing along. It wasn't easy to see over Cobb's shoulder to direct him along. Not did it help that his stride was naturally longer than yours, and one step to him was equivalent to at least 1.5 of yours. Still, you soon managed to fall into a rhythm together. He only grazed your foot with his heel once, and apologized for far more than was necessary given the situation. Eventually, you reached the edge of the parking lot. The crunch of gravel underfoot came to an end, replaced by a dirt path. You saw a flicker of recognition on Cobb's face as the terrain changed, but he didn't question where you were headed. You simply continued to make your way forwards together, as best you could. Standing so close to him, you could hear his breath coming faster. He was eagerly anticipating the reveal. The dirt made way to grass. You spotted a lonely white flower. It was the first, you were sure, of many to come. Like floral signposts, they popped up infrequently as you kept moving, determined to bring Cobb to the destination you'd uncovered online. Your body was thrumming with emotion now. Now that you were getting close to your goal. Impatience built with every step you took, your anticipation building until it came into view at last. It was perfect. You positioned yourself behind Cobb so that the full reveal would be the first thing you saw, completely unobstructed. Taking a deep breath, you prepared for the culmination of your surprise. I'm going to let go now. And, not wanting to give him a chance to react, you lifted your hands from his eyes. Spanning in front of the two of you was a wide open field, densely carpeted with white poppies in full bloom. Hundreds upon hundreds of soft petals lightly bobbed in the comfortable breeze, as if waving to welcome you both. Cobb had frozen in place. His jaw was slack, hanging open in amazement, as though he couldn't quite believe what he was seeing. You couldn't blame him. The dissonance between the unassuming parking lot, mundane and man-made, to the bounty of nature, which you brought him to, was startling in itself. And other than the hill behind your house, you'd not encountered this flower in the wild. From Cobb's perspective, to suddenly be greeted by a natural paradise tailored to him, right down to his favorite flower, must have been something he'd normally only get in a dream. You reached for his hand, you held his arm, wrapped your arms around his front. Yep. You laid your cheek against his back. Cobb blinked, slowly and repeatedly, as he took in the expanse of flora laid before him. Tears began to form, clutching onto his eyelashes, clumping them together. He lifted his gaping mouth into a wobbly, open-mouthed smile that teetered between joy and disbelief. Oh my god. He was too choked up to string the three simple, familiar words together. You'd left him speechless. Cobb twisted in your arms to face you, beaming, he leaned down to kiss you. You were glad to return the kiss, pressed into him and wrapping your arms around his neck to keep him close. He might not yet have been able to put his feelings into words, but you could feel his joy and gratitude all the same. When you parted, Cobb still wore that brilliant smile. Aww, that's so hecking adorable. Your hand lifted up to his face to caress his cheek. Okay, I'm gonna need a screenshot here because it's so hecking adorable. Finally, Cobb regained some of his composure. He opened his mouth to attempt speech once more. See? Are you really so confused when I want to do so much for you? When you go and... To finish the thought, he waved a hand at the beautiful field you had found just for him. His voice, which had been bright, dimmed to a soft murmur when he followed up on the question. Nobody else in the entire world would do this for me. Nobody. And no one makes me feel the way you do. His words were as faint as the rustling of the poppy's petals in the wind. Some of the tears had escaped from his lashes, down to his cheeks, the damp skin glittering in the sunlight. He reached out to hold his face once more and stroked them away. I'm glad to do it for you. You're welcome. I feel the same about you. I feel the same about you. You meant every word. So, can we look at the flowers together? His voice was still soft, as though speaking too loudly might shatter the magic. I'd be happy to. He giggled in a tiny, giddy way at that.
Corey.
Thanks, Corey. Carefully so as to disturb the natural peace as little as possible, you and Cobb began to make your way through the field of flowers. Now that you'd reached the destination, there was nothing to hide. You could finally walk side by side once more, his hand in yours. Eyes wide open to what was ahead, you really cherished taking the journey as partners. With the conclusion of Cobb's big plan, and yours, you might have expected to feel a little wistful. It had been an exciting few days, but there was no need to yearn for what had gone. After all, you knew that the two of you would always find new ways to bring a smile to the other's face. It's what you both did, and you were looking forward to new surprises already. Boom. Alright, happiness was pretty sweet. And pretty hot, apparently. Alright. Alright. What next? Drive, boating, late shift, errands, talks, and charity. All of them are great. Hey, Turkey, welcome back. How did Helldivers go? Everything exploded? That tends to happen in Helldivers. You missed out on them making out really hard. We straddled him, we made out, we pulled his hair, he flipped us over. It was great, really fun. Huh? Alright, so what do you think? Errands, late shift, boating, charity, or drive, or talks, right? I want to leave drive for later, because I think I know what it is. It's similar to Step 2's fuck, what's the name? Road Trip, I think. And Charity is similar to Step 2's Soiree, I think. Boating, I don't remember. Late Shift, I don't remember. But I mean, it's kind of a yacht, right? But that's not a ship yet. Or... Alright, let's go with talks. Let's go with talks. What? Another placid summer day was drifting by. Your daydreams were chasing each other, none sticking around long enough to become a firm plan. But you really didn't mind that right now. A tapping worked its way into those dreams. Focusing more, you realized it was coming from your window. A grin popped on your face as though it had been waiting all day for this moment. Oh. Headphone died. A boat is 20 feet long. Give me 1 second. Connect the headphone. Okay. Loud. Connected, okay. Boat is a 20-foot long lawn you put in a lake. A ship is something that requires more than one person to properly operate. We don't know that you need more than one person to properly operate that. We don't know that. It could totally be possible to operate it by yourself. Heading to the window, you could see Cobb outside. His habit of climbing this way really was a true Covism. He'd rather scale your home than wait the couple extra minutes for you to come down. You stood aside to give him space. You held out a hand to him. You offered Cobb a hand to help him. Once he was mostly inside, he took it to help steady the last bit of his entrance. Though considering how many times he'd done this, he hardly needed the help. Hey, Curry. Sup? Welcome home. You think my mom should invest in some bigger windows? Cobb laughed at that and took one last look at his exclusive entrance. He hummed with a teasing look on his face. It'd make my life easier, that's for sure. Cobb's voice came out quietly, with a strangely pleased smile on his face. Did something happen? Cobb opened his mouth to answer, only to have your phone vibrating cut him off. You both turned to where it rested, a little further up on your bed. It was still face down, so you couldn't tell who was calling. It's okay. Your attention shot back to Cobb. He smiled at you awkwardly.
Don't worry
Go
about
check.
it.
Could be important. Oh, wait. Thanks. You shuffled forward and scooped the little noisemaker into your hand. You flipped it over and checked the caller ID. It's Miranda. Oh, you should answer it. I want to say hi too. With a nod, you accepted a call and set it to speaker. Hi, Miranda. Hi. There was something off about her tone. Cobb met your gaze, and you saw the same confusion in his expression.
Have you heard from Terry?
Have you heard from Terry at all? Or do you hear about her from Cobb? No, she hasn't called me. But Cobb is with me right now. Hey. Hi, Cobb. Is that what you were going to say? He shook his head no, before realizing that it wasn't a good enough answer when one person couldn't actually see it. No, Terry hasn't called me today either. Is something wrong? At that, Miranda couldn't hold herself together any longer. The muffled sobs from the other side of the line were unmistakable. Terry doesn't like me anymore. If she ever did... What? That doesn't sound right. You're probably her best friend out of all of us. Yeah, why do you think that? She sniffled, and there was a pause as you could hear her shift the phone to her other hand. I was not expecting that. Okay. Terry was here the other night watching movies with me. We were up super late. She realized her parents probably went to bed so they couldn't pick her up. My mom and dad were definitely asleep then. Dad works early. I tried telling her it was okay to just spend the night and she could text her parents what happened. But Terry really didn't want to. You glanced at Cobb. He looked equally unsure as you about where this story was going. It didn't sound like a friendship-ending situation. I suggested things to make it easier if she was nervous. Like, she could sleep by herself in my room while I stayed somewhere else. Yeah? And I said we didn't have to sleep at all. We could have kept watching movies until one of her parents woke up. I wouldn't have minded. I know not everyone can do sleepovers, but Terry wouldn't even tell me what was really wrong, or what I could do to help. She likes you, dumbass, and she was embarrassed and she didn't know how to deal with sleeping over. I thought we could tell each other anything. I guess I was wrong. Did she stay in the end?
No.
No. We got too loud in the kitchen and my dad woke up. He offered to drive her home when he heard what was wrong. She texted me apologizing for my dad having to do that when he needed to rest, but that was it. She isn't talking to me anymore. You could hear every bit of the tears and heartbreak in Miranda's voice. This continued to be a shock for your neighbor, but Cobb recovered and spoke gently. I'm really sorry.
I mean...
There's no way Terry wanted to make you feel this bad, or that she's just done with your friendship because of this. Miranda's sniffling continued. You hope she had plenty of tissues handy. Really weird that she reacted like that. It's not a big deal, honestly. We weren't sure what to say. It'll be okay. It had to be. You couldn't imagine any alternative. Miranda's voice sounded a little bit more collected after finishing her story. But you knew that the crying was far from being done. I thought she had reached out to one of you by now. Maybe she's not talking to anyone. Yeah? Sorry for bothering you and Cobb about this. You accept it, don't worry about it. What a plug.
Right.
Right, you can tell us things. Thank you. Her shaking voice finally conveyed a little optimism, or at least relief, that she wasn't dealing with it entirely on her own.
Is that all right?
If you do hear from her or anything, could you let me know if she's alright? We absolutely can. Thanks. Let's talk later, okay? Bye. 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 That really didn't seem like an especially productive point to end the call, though. You also weren't sure where to go from there. Looking to Cobb, his face seemed as lost as yours. With no alternative, you hung up and put your phone back on your bed. Cobb crossed his arms, a frown creasing his face. He began to pace the length of your room, clearly trying to put the pieces together in his head in a way that made sense. Pretty confident about this working out well? I feel pretty confident about this working out well. It was no fun hearing Miranda so sad, and you could definitely empathize with right now. There was no reason to get too worked up. It was only a matter of time until Terry reached out to someone, and you were sure hearing her side of things would clear it up. The empty state of your head before learning this was not helping you now. You couldn't put two thoughts together, and floating back on your bed, you stared into space. We should probably try calling Terry. Cobb's voice managed to drag you back to some grounding. He stopped pacing, but you still saw a perturbed look on his face. Is it really something we should get involved with right now? Cobb's mouth pressed into a hard line. At the moment, it seemed like the two of you were on very different wavelengths as to how to deal with this.
Come on.
I want to talk to Terry. She's my friend too. Fine? Then let's call her. Cobb looked away and pulled his phone out. He went over and stood at his side as he was dialing. Cobb let it ring and ring and ring. Terry didn't answer. There wasn't even an option to leave a voice message. Your shoulders slumped, and Cobb looked even more troubled. If that was possible, he turned to you as if for some lifeline. Could you try calling? I'm gonna send a text, just like, hey, I was trying to reach you, call me. Or something. Yep. You took up your phone once more. Unfortunately, after another set of interminable rings, the line went dead. No answer. No voicemail. Hanging up, you saw Cobb visibly deflate. He rubbed his arm, eyes distant, openly struggling with the whole affair. I don't like this at all. They're fighting, we barely know anything, and we're supposed to just wait and see? Despite it only being a minute since he texted Terry, Cobb checked his phone again. He was desperate for progress. Something, and you frowned as you watched him. Alright, need to try to relax, make you nervous. No waiter has answered you. They're gonna get over it, you know? You stayed silent. You need to try to relax. Cobb stared hard at the screen as though he was trying to will a new message to appear. As your words sank in, his gaze slid over toward you. Just a little bit, come on. You're working yourself up. Closing his eyes, he took a deep breath and released it slowly. It wasn't much, but you could see him ease up slightly. Yeah, you're probably right. Cobb was still gripping his phone with both hands, as though it might fly away if he let go. He looked to you with almost painful earnestness.
Hi.
Could we... What do we even say if we do hear from one of them? His pacing resumed, and he attempted to answer his own question. We should probably tell them to talk to each other instead of only us. Maybe? Slowly came to another halt, like a gear winding down. We should find out Terry's side of the story, comfort Miranda, I don't know, tell them to work it out between themselves. Nothing could be done until you knew what she thought of this. That much was certain. Cobb nodded slightly in agreement. For several minutes, you both remained there in silence, drowning in your thoughts. Eventually, Cobb turned around. I'm gonna text Terry that we already know what's going on. Maybe she'll have an easier time talking to us because she wouldn't have to pretend or explain. Can't do that. Miranda didn't say if it was alright. Felt too overwhelmed to say. Think you're pushing. Not a good idea. Fixated. Might be the only way to get her attention. True. Maybe going a bit too far, but true. With the two of you on the same page, he steeled his gaze to prepare for taking the next step. Cobb's fingers worked. worked fiercely, yet carefully. He was giving his full attention to his words. You sidled up next to him and looked, trying to watch what he was writing. Cope rapidly typed it out. Hey, Corey and I really want to talk to you. Miranda told us what happened. Please reply back. And sent. It was done. We'll just have to see what happens now. Quietly. Wow! I wish you weren't so concerned with everyone's feelings but mine. Nope. It'll be alright, Cobe. Things are okay. She gets back to us. It'll definitely be alright, Cobe. Things are okay. You gave your best smile in the hopes of cheering him up. He gave a weak smile of his own in return. I hope so. I really do. A small noise escaped his lips. All the frustration of the situation crumbled away from his face, and he spoke softly. Thanks, Corey. I'm glad it's not just me with all this happening. Cope took one last look at the phone, and then put it away. His effort at a smile was meager, but earnest.
It's okay.
We can just forget about it for a while. Terry will talk to us when she wants to. You smiled just a little bit. I'd like to be alone for a while. Could you leave? You simply nodded back. Even this slight lessening of tension between the Cope was working wonders on your shaking heart. The last thing any of you needed was more division among your friends. Did I miss something? Like, why is there division here? Like, what? Okay. A silence stretched on in what felt like hours, but it likely wasn't that long before there was a knock at your bedroom door, and Mom peeked in. Just wanted to check in on you. Oh, Cope, when did you get here? When she saw you were there, she opened the door all the way. Ma was standing there as well. She slipped past her wife to come inside your space. What's going on? We're okay. It's just Miranda called earlier. She and Terry are fighting, but none of us know what's going on with Terry. Your parents exchanged a meaningful look, though its meaning was lost on you.
I'm so...
That's too bad. I'm sorry there's trouble with your friend, sweetie. Is there anything we can do to help? Out of the corner of your eye, you saw Cope rub his arm awkwardly, unable to add anything. Nope, we're just waiting to see if Terry calls, or texts, or if Miranda does. Well, we can at least help you take your mind off things while you're waiting.
Yeah.
Another great idea, Lani. We can get the whole gang together for some quality time. Yes, it'll be wonderful. I'll go see what Liz is up to right now. Excited, she fluttered a few steps away and then stopped. She pivoted on her heels and raised a single finger, flashing a big smile at Cope.
It's no trouble.
And of course, Cliff will be welcome too. Knowing your family was always there for you, that couldn't be underestimated. In fact, it meant everything to you that your mom cared so much. Thanks, Mom. Yeah, thanks. That's nice of you.
You're welcome.
You're both very welcome. Don't sweat it. Not so, kiddos. Leave things to us. Just relax and we'll call you when it's all together. You nodded, and your mom's dispersed for now, springing into action for their impromptu get-together. You flopped down on your bed, feeling it like you could sink into it and disappear. Cope, meanwhile, took a spot on the chair off to the side. You sighed at the same time, and Cope's mouth pulled into a bent smile at that. He gave his phone another quick check, and his eyebrows furrowed. Still nothing? Yep, this is crap, huh? Yep. Cope chewed the inside of his cheek as if to mimic the stress that was clearly eating away at him. Cope, what's wrong? What's really wrong? One disagreement doesn't make you act like this. They got a pointed pause in his movement. Cope was carefully trying to put his thoughts together. He spoke in a fragile voice. When people you care about, when they're unhappy with each other, there's nothing you can do. Unless you're in a fight yourself, you have some responsibility, some control over it all. I wish it didn't have to happen, but that is impossible. So, well, I guess. His attempt at giving a nonchalant shrug after that was pitiable. True, but you're right that it can be helped. It's whatever. Other people can do what they want, right? It makes me feel terrible too. In your lap, your hands momentarily curled into fists. This kind of powerlessness, it wore you down. You looked to Cove and were reassured by his understanding nod. But is it because of what happened with your parents? You reflected on everything you had learned about Mr. Holden, Kira, their relationship and their son. They went through a lot. Cope ran a hand through his hair, a strange smile spreading across his lips for him. This pain struck close to his heart. Just as quickly as it had come, his smile was gone, lost amidst his faraway gaze. Yeah, you know what happened. It's like my parents. He whispered his thoughts distantly, almost unconcerned with whether you could hear them or not.
That's
They used to fight all the time. I'm sorry.
Corey. Don't worry.
It's
about
okay. Cope gazed reassuringly at you. It's not like that anymore, right? Things are so different now. Better. I don't even really think about it. Again, the sorrow reasserted itself. When he continued, you could barely hear him. Though I guess it's pretty obvious I haven't forgotten either. You tried to smile for him. You crossed the room and took his hand, went over and placed a hand on his shoulder. You hugged him. Kiss is a bit too much for this situation. Feels kinda inappropriate. You crossed the room, picking up a little bit of speed, and Cope's eyes widened. He shot out of the chair and stood waiting for you with a nonplussed look. When you collided into him, wrapping your arms around his middle and knocking the air out of his lungs, all mystery was gone. Cope squeaked. Oh. He returned the gesture longingly. Exhaling, you pressed your cheek into the warmth of his chest. The tension stuck inside you released, like a river flowing into the ocean that was Cope. The firmness of his hug told you Cope didn't plan on letting go anytime soon. You both needed the comfort and closeness for just a little bit longer. When he finally did, he kept hold of your hand. The two of you took a seat again, this time side by side on your bed. Today was a lot, huh? It was. Leaned against him, caressed his hand. Leaned against him, resting the side of your face onto his shoulder. You glanced up at his face. Cope watched you affectionately. In that gentle gaze, you finally felt like everything was going to be okay. No matter what happens, we can make it work. Smile pulled into a bent smile at that. You chuckled, resting your head comfortably back on his shoulder.
Me too.
I think so too. You couldn't sit still anymore. Cope leaned in, delicately pressing his lips to your forehead, and he raised one free hand to lightly touch your jaw. The breath got caught in your throat. When you remembered to breathe, blood rushed to your face, turning your skin a deep red. You tried not to think about how hot you were feeling, because after everything that happened today, we're just grateful for the moment. And for a while you stayed like that. A comfortable quiet fell between you, and the sun fell with it. The warming calm ended when Cope gasped sharply. You spun half, expecting to find him nursing an injury, but instead found him staring straight ahead. What?
Oh my
I
god.
think my phone just vibrated. Well, you better find out if it did. Right. He patted his pockets, fumbling in his panic, and yanked the phone out. The force of the action nearly catapulted the device out of his grip entirely, but he caught it just in time. His eyes hunt in on the screen. It's Terry! Thank God! She says she's sorry. He looked back at you, eyes wide as his nerves started to fray once more. What should I say? Ask her what's going on or tell her to call us. Tough choice, tough choice. Or give it a second, I need to think, I don't know. Ask her what's going on, okay. He flashed you a shaky smile as he began to type. You suspect that he'd had similar thoughts himself, but wanted the reassurance of a second opinion. Cope's son buzzed nearly as soon as the message was sent. Ah, it's Sarah again, she's talking to us. She asked about what Miranda said, but wait. You leaned in, watching the conversation unfold on Cope's screen.
Right.
She's gonna actually call. Cope held his breath as you waited. Though he was good with people, he'd never been at ease managing conflict. His phone rang out. Cope jammed the answer button, his reflexes instantaneous. He switched the phone into speaker mode, allowing you to participate in the conversation. But despite his immediate reaction, his voice lacked the same resolve when he spoke. His voice lacked the same resolve when he spoke. Hey! It was a tentative white flag fluttering in the wind. Corey is here too. Hey, Terry.
Hey.
Hey, buddies. Terry's voice was barely recognizable with her usual quick patter and energy.
Are you okay?
I don't know. Probably not. Cope tensed, his free hand coiling into an anxious fist. Can you talk to us about what happened? Don't you know already? Miranda explained some of it, but it doesn't make sense to us. You heard Terry sigh over the phone as she unburdened herself. Pretty much. I was at Randy's house. We decided to watch some movies she super liked that I'd never seen before. Turns out there was a lot of those. We watched one, then another, and another. We were having so much fun. Each time one finished, she had another one to share with me. I didn't really think about the time. I only wanted to say yes to Randy and watch her movies. Gay. So fucking gay. Oh my god. It's obvious. She spoke wistfully, but her words were full of affection. It was Randy, you know? I wasn't thinking about my schedule or what time it was. Totally. Then I finally saw the time and oh no, it was way too late. I already knew I couldn't stay. She took a deep breath, her voice becoming soft when she resumed talking. I was so stressed out. I couldn't deal with it. Miranda wanted to help. She kept coming up with ways to make it better and trying to figure out why I was so upset and stuff. I was trying to answer her question and there were so many, but I couldn't really answer all of them. I didn't even know why some of her ideas didn't work with me. It made my head ache. I still had the first problem and Randy there, trying to help, blasting all these questions and suggestions at me faster than I could even think. She gulped audibly, sniffing. I got frustrated and told her to just leave me alone, but then she wanted to talk about why I wanted that and we started having a fight in the kitchen. It woke Randy's dad up. We told him how I wanted to go home, but my parents couldn't get me, so Mr. Eckert offered to do it. Problem solved? No, I mean, yes, kinda, but I accepted because I definitely couldn't stay then, not after throwing a racket and turning it into a big deal. But I feel awful and embarrassed. Why did I yell at Randy and hurt her feelings? And I made her dad lose sleep by waking up and having to drive me home. What do you say after that? I have no idea. I don't know where to start. And now I want to make it worse by saying the wrong thing and fighting again. Water. He'll hydrate. So, I'm not talking. Terry, Randy isn't mad that you didn't want to stay or that you fought. She just wants to feel like you can talk to her. I mean, you can say whatever you want, she'll listen. Not talking to her at all is pretty much the only wrong way to go about it. Terry lamented mournfully on the other end of the line, but he had a point. Unless she faced Miranda again, there would be no resolution. He looked at Cobb, hunched over the phone, staring pensively into it and searching for a solution. This couldn't be solved with the other key party missing, but what if you brought them in? Your phone was still free. He rang Miranda without saying a word. Terry might flee from the call if he told her what was going on. He wanted to make certain they spoke to one another. You slipped your phone out. In the background you could hear Cobb and Terry still talking. You began dialing while they were distracted. Then set it to speaker and waited for Miranda to join.
Hi.
Hi, Corey. Her voice was still distant, as if her thoughts were elsewhere, but it was loud enough for your needs. What was that? Terry shouted her question, confirming that she'd heard Miranda's arrival too.
What happened?
What was that? Cobb glanced over his shoulder towards you, spotting the phone in your hand. He smiled ruefully. It sussed out your game. Randy? Terry? Realization that they could hear each other was dawning over all parties now. You decided to help it along with an explanation. Miranda is on speaker with me. Terry is on speaker with Cobb. Oh. There was a pause while the two of them digested this information, considering their next words. You and Cobb exchanged looks, waiting for the wall between them to break, and wondering who would be the one to do it. As a quiet dragged on, you caught Cobb showing his cheek. He must have weighed up the same question as you, whether to encourage the conversation along, or leave Miranda and Terry to resolve it themselves. The answer came in the form of one sniff, followed by another. From Cobb's phone.
Sorry.
Randy, I'm sorry, I hope you still like me. What? You were the one acting as if you didn't like me. Her tone was defensive. Not doubt a result of her wounds from last night still being raw.
What?
No way! Everyone likes Randy. You're wonderful. Your eyes met Cobb's. His phone was tilted toward you, capturing the call indirectly. You moved your phone closer to his, hoping that the signal was strong enough to convey every nuance of tone. Cobb did likewise, bringing his call right next to yours, even bumping against it as he shifted his grip. I didn't know what to say. That's the only reason I wouldn't talk to you. If I had known the answer, I'd have told you right away. Miranda murmured on the other end of the line. You didn't want to stay. You didn't want to say. Anything I tried to do bothered you. And you could have told me you didn't know. Yeah, I think I was angry at myself. I did a dumb thing and I didn't want to help with it. I wanted to be mad and just deal with it myself. It made me keep doing dumb things. Oh. When she spoke again, her voice was quiet, as tender and vulnerable as the words.
I'm sorry.
Staying up late watching stuff was all my fault. I had to find a way to fix it. That's what I thought anyway. But I should have given you space. I'm sorry for being so pushy and sensitive. Hardly Miranda Eckert having a flaw? I've never heard of such a crazy thing. Miranda let out a gust of a giggle. Cobb cleared his throat. Maybe you should call each other now? Sorry.
Sure.
Can do. Thanks for giving me the kick in the butt to do this already. Randy Mandy, I'm gonna call you right now. Bye, Corey and Cobb. She hung up after squeezing in another quick bye, though not giving your Cobb room to respond in kind. Miranda laughed, the noise tinkling gently like wind chimes in a summer breeze.
You're really nice.
Thank you for listening and helping. I'm gonna hang up now so I can answer Terry's call. Bye. Bye and good luck. You got this. Miranda hung up, still chuckling softly as her call ended. The room felt emptier without the other voices in it. Cobb expelled a sigh that crashed through the newly fallen silence. He dropped his arms to his sides, letting his head hang down like a puppet at rest. Thank God. I'm so relieved. It's okay. You were simply happy your friends had made up. Drained you. You were content now that Cobb seemed at ease again. Let's go with this one. Cobb scratched at his face, his expression cloudy. I think I need to find better ways for dealing with conflict because that was awful. You could all probably do better at that. You did okay given the circumstances. Yeah, I think you did okay given the circumstances. Cobb meekly smiled as he rubbed at his eyes, weariness creeping over him, and mumbled his next words. We can talk about it another day. Conflict resolution methods? Huh? Oh no, forget it. Your eyebrows rose and then a light bulb went off in your head. Before Miranda called, didn't you say there was something you wanted to say? Cobb's original visit had been thrown so off-kilter that it was a struggle to win your memory back to when he'd first turned up. Now you did, though. You remember that he had been perky when he'd arrived this afternoon. Was it good news? Cobb brushed his hands against his now folded arms shyly. Well, yeah, maybe. I'm not exactly sure it counts as news, or even good. It's just... it's what it is. I'm happy about it, though. Come on, no more hints. You gotta tell me now. Cobb chuckled awkwardly, a hand creeping up to ruffle the hair on the back of his head. It's fine. If you're not here, I can tell you. He shifted on his feet, as if a different posture might give him the support he needed for the conversation. I didn't want to make it a big deal, but I kind of, well, not kind of, I just know what my sexuality is now. Okay. I was not expecting this, but sure. Oh, a real subject change, huh? He chuckled. True, it was unexpected, but you were excited that Cobb had come to understand himself more, and glad he wanted to share that with you. Ah, that's great, tell me. Cobb drew a breath and straightened up. I'm demisexual, so you know, most of the time I don't really have those kinds of feelings. Physical wants and stuff. It's only in some situations when I'm already really emotionally and romantically connected to someone that I start to even think about anything sexual, and it's only with them. I hadn't heard the term until recently, and it just made a lot of sense. Once I knew what it meant, I had a word that fit how I felt.
Yeah.
And I'm pan-romantic, because I've never had a preference for a specific gender or anything. So yeah, that makes sense. Cobb looked down at the floor. Being so open and direct about a matter that personal which you were sure he spent a lot of time trying to figure out, seemed to be kind of weird for him. Despite that, there was a proud smile on his face, and when he looked up again, his gaze was steadfast. It's really nice to know. Have I ever pushed you or made you feel uncomfortable? Does that mean you're thinking sexual things about me? You felt proud of your boyfriend too? So 1. Cope shook his head easily. No, I things get embarrassed, but it's pretty hard to make me. When I actually don't want to do something. Okay. So does this mean you're thinking sexual things about me? Cope blushed and frowned equally hard at the statement. He struggled to get out a response. Yeah? What kind of thoughts? Corey, you need to ask that. You were sure that was true, but couldn't help chuckling at how bashful he was. And no matter what, you wouldn't be getting a more explicit response than that right now. Your topic was dropped. All this talk of Cope's sexuality made you reflect about your own. Your feelings on yours hadn't wavered. Cope had known for years now. It was heartwarming that he had reached the point where he felt similarly capable of discussing his own. You felt even closer. You could tell that Cope felt like it had been an emotionally draining day that had now come to a close. Everything wrapped up neatly with a bow on top. You'd had some good talks with your friends and with each other. A lot had been brought out into the light, and you'd come out of it not only knowing each other better, but yourself too. But there was still something that Cope didn't know, something that had gnawed at you many times over the years. You never told Cope about how you'd first met his dad. You'd always held it back from him, unsure how he would take the revelation. His dad seemed to have done the same, as Cope didn't seem to have heard of it from Mr. Holden either. You said that secret had hung over you long enough. Maybe someday. Didn't matter. Gotta tell the secret now. Been waiting for this since step 1, since the start of the game, of the novel. You decided the secret had hung over you long enough. It was time to tell Cope about the deal that his father proposed. You were ready. Today was the day to tell Cope the full story of how you'd come to know him. Cope? You hooked his attention with the way you spoke his name. There's one more thing I'd like to talk about. Cope raised an eyebrow, but didn't say anything. He was listening. You took a deep breath and stated the situation plainly. You tried to handle it lightheartedly, still hesitating and chose your words cautiously. Way back when we first met, you weren't the first Holden family member I met. Your dad gets that honor. Took a deep breath. Remember back when we first met? I actually met your dad first. You'd run off and he was waiting outside to see if you'd come back. That was when he spotted me on my way home for the day. Cope nodded, eyebrows still raised. You could tell that he was trying to predict where this was going. You could also see that he was failing. He offered me $20 to be friends with you. That's the story. Cope's eyes widened into huge circles as you uttered the final sentence. His mouth hung open, ready to speak, but no words followed. You stood still, giving him time to process this revelation. You watched the layers of subterfuge being ripped away as his eyebrows rose higher on his forehead, followed by a deepening frown. And then Cope burst into a roar of laughter. That's horrible, he tried to bribe you? And you were what, 8? That why, oh my god. Cope was bent over with laughter, one arm supporting his sides. He covered his eyes with the other hand, hiding the tears of mirth sprouting in the corners. He takes this really well compared to the other times. You laughed along with him, glad that you could finally share this ridiculous anecdote with him and relieved that he wasn't upset at the secret. It's so fucking cute and adorable and wholesome. Eventually your giggles went down. Cope wiped the last of the tears from his eyes, still grinning as he took wheezing breaths. Wow. He shook his head. That's my dad. I guess there's always another Clifford surprise waiting in the wings. But $20, huh? What a cheapskate. Consider how much time we've spent together since I moved in. You were paid pennies on the hour. No, not even that much. Just 1 penny an hour, a fraction of a penny. I know, it seemed like the most money I'd ever see you at once, but I was being paid peanuts. I should have haggled. Cope gave you a lopsided smile with a shake of his head.
Sorry.
Sorry. You definitely got the short end of the stick, actually. I must save here. I hope you plan on making up for it. Don't worry, it was a labor of love. I got to grow up with you, it was the best deal I could have gotten. I'm just relieved you're not upset, it was okay. It was a really stressful spot. Don't worry, it was a labor of love. You watched your words reach Cove. He melted. How you plan to make up for it? Wait, why am I the one that has to make up for it? My dad was the one who dropped the ball. I was just a kid too. It wouldn't have happened enough for you. One way or the other, I deserve to have this injustice against my child self made right. The banter came easily now that this long-held secret had finally been brought into light. Cove smirked, a mischievous look in his eyes. How about this? We can spend the rest of our lives giving my dad a hard time over it, and I'll back you up? You made a show of considering his suggestion, but prefer accepting with a nod. That might help. Good. We got our own deal now. You breathed a sigh of relief as the weight you've been carrying from childhood was lifted from your shoulders. Alright. Don't worry, it was a labor of love. You watched your words reach Cove. His expression melted while he flushed and ducked his head away from you. His new smile, even and genuine. Genuine? The choice of phrasing had been a bullseye, shot straight with Cupid's bow.
That's...
Oh. He shuffled his feet, resting his weight on one leg and then the other as he attempted to find words of his own. Thank you. You smiled back at him, thinking that no payment of hard cash could ever compare to his presence. You breathed a satisfied sigh of relief as the weight you'd been carrying from childhood was lifted from your shoulders. Cove reached out and took your hands in his, squeezing gently. Your eyes met, and you knew that your feelings of being glad to be there, glad to know him, were reciprocated in full. Thanks for telling me. I appreciate the honesty. He grinned slyly. And now, I've got more ammo to tease Dad with. No problem. Hey, we should probably head downstairs soon, if your moms are still wanting everyone to get together.
Hey.
Yeah, that's right. With a renewed spring in your step, you led the way out of your room. You got downstairs to find the others already assembled and waiting.
Hi.
Hello. Hey. Good to see you both.
Hey.
Hi, here we were, trying to corral everyone into a group, but the two of you were already upstairs this whole time. Of course we were together. You paid Corey to stick with me, or did you forget? Oh, okay. Of course we were together. You paid Corey to stick with me, or did you forget? The statement was meaningless to your family, who looked to each other for answers in vain. Mr. Holden, who got the message loud and clear, seemed embarrassed. You doing okay, Trekkie? He chuckled nervously, rubbing the back of his neck, and then his hand froze in place.
Huh?
Wait, when did you figure that out? You never mentioned it growing up. Today, just now. Corey told me. It's glorious, isn't it? Mr. Holden's hand awkwardly slid off his neck as he stared at Cove, the answer catching him off guard. Out of the corner of your eye, you saw Mo mouthing questions at you. Everyone was waiting for an explanation. Similarly to his own, Mr. Holden broke into laughter and turned to address you, a hand laid over his chest. I can't believe my partner in crime betrayed me, and after all these years, I thought we had something. His voice was deliberately light, assuring you this was only a joke. He shook his head, throwing off the jest as he spoke seriously.
No worries.
I have to admit, I'm actually just amazed that you'd kept it under your hat for this long. It had to be done. Uh-huh. I want to know why my dad kept it secret all this time.
No worries.
Sorry? Uh-huh.
No worries.
Mr. Holden looked back to Cove, lines forming in his forehead as his wide eyes signaled a wordless apology. Can we hear exactly what this secret is? The suspense is killing us.
Right.
Alright. I better get everyone up to speed. He held up his hands, palms out, pacifying his audience, or perhaps holding them up as a shield in advance. The first day I met Corey, I'd been worrying about Cope being alone for the summer.
Well.
There weren't a lot of kids around, and he wasn't exactly in the best of terms with me at the time. You glance around at your family, gauging their responses. I felt like this was my own shot, so I kind of offered her $20 to be friends with Cope, and added that she couldn't tell him about it. This gasp. She was Ma was staring incredulously at Mr. Holden, while Mom's eyebrows high retreated to her hairline. You and Cope, already knowing the story, were the only ones unaffected. But after a while, I really did honestly forget it even happened. He raised his hands higher, not level with his shoulders. Not a bad idea, you thought. If Mom felt inclined to throw a cushion at him, he'd probably manage to block it in time. I know that's bad, but I have so many grand ideas over the years, it's hard to keep track of them all. Cope smiled, placing his hands on his hips and shaking his head at his father's antics.
Seriously?
I can't believe you. Though, also, I totally can. Your moms were less indulgent. The shock had ebbed away to displeasure. Mom's foot was tapping rapidly as she frowned at the next-door neighbor, while Ma had her arms crossed over her chest and her lips pursed. I'm sorry, Corey, and I'm sorry to your parents too. That was way out of bounds. Don't worry about it, everything worked out. Your moms gave each other that look, where they seemed to communicate with eyes alone. Well, not me. Alright, well, that's that then, and it won't happen again.
Absolutely.
It definitely won't.
Alright.
Good. It was a little surprising that they were letting him off the hook, but on the other hand, it was a long time ago now, and you were sure your moms remembered those painful early days of Cope's arrival too. Mr. Holden wasn't a potential bad influence anymore, so the lecture would be pretty moot. Instead, your ma gave him a lenient smile.
In that case.
Now that it's settled, why don't we find something to do? Nods of agreement cascaded through the group in a couple of waves at the suggestion. Mr. Holden's shoulders slumped with the release of tension. He brought his hands down, tucking them away into his pockets. The two families spent the rest of the afternoon together, chatting and catching up. Though you'd accepted Mr. Holden's apology, Cope caught up for lost time by pitching the odd jab at his dad. Their moms didn't seem amused, the news still too fresh, but you enjoyed finally being able to laugh about it freely. You truly relaxed, knowing that there were no longer any secrets between the two families. You felt freed, and yet simultaneously more tied together than you had been before. Boom. Talks and happiness done. This was a lot shorter than the other ones. Like the other ones were legit 2 moments, 4 hours, right? And this time, 2 moments, 2 hours. Alright. Let's do one more. Late shift, boating, charity, errands, or drive. I'm thinking... I'm really curious for boating. Errands. I really like errands. And it's pretty chill. Let's do errands. Yeah, let's do errands. From the moment you woke up, you knew that today was going to be busier than usual. Boating, you say? Next one, it'll be the next one. I already started this one. From the moment you woke up, you knew that today was going to be busier than usual. There was a list of errands that needed to be finished before the day was done. First up was visiting one of the biggest farmers markets in the area. It was only open 2 weekends a month during certain parts of the year. It was rare that you and your family were able to attend, so your moms liked to make the most of every minute of it. And you realized it was not just them thinking that way when you heard a whistle from your left side. Wow, this is a swanky show. Best shovels have never seemed so highbrow. Seriously, they don't mess around with their products. Isn't it exciting? Liz crossed her arms. You could tell she was amused. We couldn't have picked a more perfect trip. It's been too long since we've had a true family outing. Her teasing tone said more than she actually did. Your next door neighbors had joined you this day, and thus made it a true family outing. The 3 parents laughed approvingly. Out of the corner of your eye, you caught Cope looking at you sympathetically. Some things never changed. And some jokes never died. You'd long accepted that. It's going to die though. Eventually the joke will die because they'll get married. And that wouldn't be a joke, it would just be the truth. Excited to check things out. Thought the trip might be fun. Feeling indifferent, feeling uncomfortable. We're in a bad mood. Trip might be fun. Like, I've never been to a farmer's market. At least I don't think so, but I've been to a market, like a regular kind. The south of Mexico is great. I like going there, there's so much stuff. He smiled, trying to imagine how many stalls were set up. We were curious what hiding gems were waiting for you to discover among them. Well, I'm ready to get started. I've got plenty of dishes in mind I could use ingredients for. Before your moms responded to that, they glanced at each other and smiled. Yes, that is a very good idea, Cliff. This place is much larger than it seems. It's difficult to visit each part in a single day.
I got it.
I'm sure we can make a decent dent together at least. Actually, since there are so many of us this time, we could make different sides of the market.
Sounds good.
Divide and conquer, eh? Sounds brilliant. Everyone watched your mom surprised. No one had considered that an option, but your mom flashed the group a dazzling smile, continuing with the thought. Though, it's a little unfair that there are 4 McClan family members and only 2 Holdens here, so I'll go with you boys to even out the odds.
Okay.
That's fine with me. Cliff scratched the back of his neck and slowly met Cove's stare. They both seemed unconvinced but weren't sure what to say about it. Don't worry, we'll be apart for only a few hours and then we'll have something to talk about at the end of it. Father and son ultimately nodded. This wasn't an argument they were going to win.
Alright.
Alright, I'll get the point, but I also don't mind spending the first part of this trip with Cory and Ma. Ma clapped her hands together at that. Wonderful. Are the teams ready to go? Can I be the one who goes with the Holdens instead? You looked from your mom to your ma, hopeful that you'd at least get to explore the market with Cove. You perked up the suggestion, but then you saw Ma was pointing at your request to leave her group.
Sorry.
Sorry? No can do this time, kiddo. Seeing that neither parent was budging, you slumped your shoulders. You wouldn't be split up too long, right? Ma hooked an arm around you in a little side hug. You grinned.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Cory. Taking the lead, Mom walked over towards Cove and Cliff, who were still eyeing her confusedly.
Let's go.
Come on, boys, we're heading out. Sure? Okay. Cove looked at you softly, and found himself pulled forward, stopping in front of you. His expression flickered for a moment, hesitant.
Bye.
Bye. Cove lightly took one of your hands in his and gave it a small squeeze. He dipped his face forward, wanting to kiss farewell, when instead he stopped midway, his whole body stiff, jerked his gaze back at your mom, and realized that she had grabbed the hem of his shirt. She gave it a small tug before letting go. I'm so wasting, Cove, and I've known you long enough to be aware that you're one to linger. If I don't stop you now, you'll only drag your feet on parting ways more. The 2 of you can snuggle and make out as much as you want later. We have important shopping to do now. Oh, she's fucking ruthless, I love it. Cope gasped at what he felt was a truly obscene thing to say. His face burned red, but that was ignored by him. He spoke with an impressed roll of the eyes.
Seriously?
You don't need to literally pull me away from Cory. I'm not that clingy. Mel sniggered with a shake of her head. Cope's eyebrows raised over the reaction and he turned to Ma. She wouldn't meet his eyes as she whistled innocently. Liz smirked ear to ear, and Cope whipped his head toward his dad. Mr. Holden couldn't offer anything more than an apologetic shrug. It was only then that it dawned on Cope that everyone did think that he was that needy. Finally, he dared to face you with wide, bleeding eyes. Don't make fun of Cope. Who said you were allowed to say things like that to him? Toad is totally capable of being independent when he wants to be. There's nothing wrong with being attached, it's nice. Oh, come on, Cope, you know how it is. Silently, you stared back at him. Oh, okay. It's good to be ruthless. There was no denying it, they were right, but he didn't want to join in with the conversation. You started to think of a defense for him. But your silence was telling enough. Come hook his head, completely unnumbered. Oh, come on, Cove, you know how it is. You adored your boyfriend, but you found it hard to believe that he didn't realize how often he was like that. Apparently that was the case though. Cope couldn't believe that he was being completely outnumbered. His mouth twisted as he struggled to come up with something to say in his defense. There's nothing wrong with being attached, it's nice, and you meant it. You very much enjoyed Cope's company and his affectionate nature, but that wasn't exactly a denial of what he was being accused of. Mom's smile grew. Cope is totally capable of being independent when he wants to be, okay? He spoke very matter-of-fact and fixed a stern gaze on the group. Cope, meanwhile, beamed at having your support. Without thinking, Cope took another step forward, feeling drawn to you. Also again, Mom grabbed the back of his shirt. She tried suppressing her laughter, but a few chuckles escaped. Actions speak louder than words. Cope's mouth twisted as he struggled to come up with something to say in his defense. He was newly embarrassed all over again. Yeah, well, so what? Aww. Who said you were allowed to say things? He was your boyfriend, not theirs. Whoa, I found this earphones of Cope, but Cope beamed, okay. Don't make fun of Cope. Aw, nah, too serious. So what? That admission had Liz, your moms, and his dad bursting into laughter. Cope grimaced and walked several steps from the group before stopping. He clearly wanted to move on, so much that he was physically moving away. I'll see you soon. For a moment, you weren't sure if Cope heard you over the noise of the market, but then he nodded. You smiled softly, watching him get over his embarrassment and relax a bit.
See you later.
See you in a few hours. Take care of yourselves. At that, Mom picked a direction and set out into the market with Mr. Holden, and Cope following behind her. Is it just me, or does this seem like a setup? This is setup, isn't it? Grinning, Ma sent them up with a big wave. Liz gave a daintier goodbye wave herself. Despite the change in plans, you were still glad to be here. Good idea, unsure, annoyed, damper. We're still glad to be here, despite the change in plans. It wasn't what you'd imagined, but that didn't matter. There was a whole market to explore, and you couldn't wait to find some stuff. When they were gone, Ma cheerily turned towards you and Liz. She put her hands on her hips. Do you think there'll be any nice ginger around here? Yeah, it's right next to us. We'll call her Liz. We'll have to find out. You nodded in agreement, keen to truly get the trip going. Ma led you both into the busy market. Some time passed browsing. There were only a few stalls you stopped at, and you had fun chatting and laughing, pointing out various things to Ma and Liz, and vice versa. At one point, Ma stopped suddenly. She put a hand on her belly and gave a half-hearted smile. I think I should have used the bathroom before we left home, like the two of you responsibly did. Just need to pee?
Yeah.
Yes, Liz. I'll have to visit the ladies' room now. Should we wait here? Should Liz and I go without you? Should we all go with you? Mac craned forward as she struggled to pinpoint the direction she needed to go. She gently considered your suggestion. There's no need to worry about me for this, or waste time standing around. Keep on shopping. Though, actually, I might need help finding my way. Can you please come, Lizzie? You and your sister had to share a look over that. Why do that all of a sudden? Of all things. Ma, if anyone should go anywhere on their own, shouldn't it be you? You're the one needing a detour, and you're the parent here. Ma giggled, unfazed by the resistance. Liz, meanwhile, tipped the brow of her hat up, watching Ma skeptically. Soon enough, Corey will have to handle doing these kinds of errands on her own. This makes good practice. What? Ma hooked an arm around Liz and pulled her along. Have fun. We'll find each other again later. Excuse me? Bye. Wait. You wait. It was all you could muster as Liz and Ma waded into the crowd. They were out of sight within moments, and what started as a group outing rapidly became you, entirely on your own. You thought, screw them, done with the whole trip, great being left on your own. You thought Ma was being ridiculous, but didn't really mind. You didn't know what to think. You still couldn't believe Mad just did that. There wasn't a single doubt in your mind that she'd had some ulterior motives, but for now, you had to figure out what to do next. Walked off on your own, found a place to sit where you were left, or texted Cobb to meet up. Walked off. Resigned to your fate, you picked up where you left, browsing the stalls. One hooked your attention. While most stalls were selling various garden-grown foods, this one had an array of homemade fudge. There were even vegan options of versions of every option. You got closer to the stall. You sidestepped past a few other people and got yourself right in front of the counter for a better look. There was a wide spread, dozens of delicately cut squares of decadence. The owner smiled and approached you to explain their shop. The fudge is sold in boxes of 4 pieces. They either can be all the same, all different, or any mix you like. Are you looking to buy any today? Get yourself a box, one for Cobb, one for everyone. Box for everyone. The whole selection was too good not to share. You wanted to get yourself a box, of course. Your mind was already filling with thoughts of sinking your teeth into the delicious fudge. There was no walking away empty-handed now. And of course, one for Cobb as well. Looking at the treats made you think of Cobb. You grinned, hoping he liked what you picked out. And that was all. Yeah, I could use some fudge. I'm glad you came to the right place then. For yourself, you picked... Ooh. Tough. Chocolate peanut butter. Milk chocolate. Why is this a sad song all of a sudden? Dark chocolate and red velvet. For the group, you picked chocolate peanut butter, maple walnut, red velvet, and key lime. For Cobb, shit, what does Cobb like again? Fruity shit, right? So key lime, red velvet, maple walnut, and milk chocolate. The shop owner carefully put your order together. You couldn't help but try to imagine how Cobb might react when you presented this to him. Everyone else was definitely going to be happy when you were group leader. You paid, and there was no stopping the large grin going across all across your face. Pivoting on your heels, you woke your way back to the center of the path. You pondered for a moment what you should do now. None of the stalls were catching your eye. What did grab your attention, however, was a head of familiar seafoam hair sticking out above the crowd. You knew instantly it was Cobb. He hadn't noticed you yet, but he was walking in your direction. He held a couple of bags tightly in his hand. Strangely, you couldn't spot your mom or his dad anywhere. You called out to him. Standing firm, you cupped your hands around your mouth and for added projection. You took a deep breath. Cobb, hold and get your butt over here. He instantly stopped dead in his tracks. Alert, Cobb's head snapped up and his eyes searched the crowd until they landed on you. His whole demeanor brightened at that point.
Tori.
Tori! He whipped through passersby deftly in an attempt to get through as fast as reasonably possible, slipping around them with ease. It only took a moment for him to arrive. It was undeniable that he was shopping by himself. You stared at him, confused. Did you ditch your group? Cobb crossed his arms defiantly, the bags twisting in front of him. Your mom took my dad and I ended up alone. Why are you by yourself? Ma and Liz abandoned me too.
What?
What? I can't believe this happened to both of us. They planned it. They had to. But I don't know why. Are they pranking us? I don't know either. And you meant it. You couldn't fathom what your moms were up to. Cobb shook his head, trying to clear his mind.
So...
Well? His strange tone caught your attention. You watched his eyes start to twinkle with mischief, as his mouth pulled into a cheeky smile. You know, it is technically later, and your mom is around this time. You chuckled, knowing exactly what he was implying. That instant was already replying in your head. Bashfully, you nodded. You hugged him. He stepped closer. He looked at you adoringly, and you wondered if everyone in that part of the market could also hear your heart pounding in anticipation. He leaned in, and you met Cobb part way with a bit more eager force than he anticipated. You could feel him smile, and then he parted to chuckle for a moment. Cobb kissed you again. It was brief, but enough, and left you feeling energized. I'm glad it's later.
Me too.
Me too. So, you guys wandered off as if one of your parents might simply appear if he kept checking, and you could tell he was still processing the situation. He scratched the back of his head, looking sheepish. Do you want to forget about whatever's happening and go shopping together? Definitely. There was little care in your mind for what your moms had planned. You were ecstatic at the thought of spending the rest of the trip with him.
Don't worry about it.
Even if we have to make our own phone, we're gonna have a good trip. Ko smiled at you encouragingly. It made you feel more optimistic now. Having him there was already comforting, and now he also seemed determined to improve your day by any means. That had you looking forward to what was coming next. So where to first? I don't mind going back the way I came, if it's new to you. It's not hard to miss stuff even if I've gone past it. What have you gotten? He shuffled his bag around and started pulling them open so you could see inside each one. You recognized the array of things he picked up around the market. I mostly got typical things I can use pretty easily so far. Nothing super exciting. And well, I picked up a few things I figured you may want to have too. There were a few cucumbers, some lemons and zucchini, among other things that were wrapped up so you couldn't discern what they were. You chose perfectly, thank you. What Cope bought made sense, but it was far from a complete selection. You glanced around at the nearby stalls. Wanna go start over there? Cope followed your eyes as you pointed at one of the larger stalls. It was filled with several kinds of staple fruits and vegetables.
Come on.
Yeah, let's go. Once a few people finished paying and moved, you and Cope got yourselves directly in front of the shop. There were so many things to pick from. Okay, oranges. Limes, potatoes, lemon, spinach, peppers, tomatoes, and peaches, and strawberries, and lettuce, and that was everything. Happily, you paid and waited for Cope to make his purchase. Ready to go? Cope grinned, satisfied with his new choices. He had added another bag to his small but growing collection. You nodded. Oh, wait, before we start moving on and everything, wanna hold hands? Cope! Cope, how forward, how lewd! Hand holding? In public? Yes, you held onto his hand. Shyly, you lifted your hand out for him to take. At that, Cope smiled, and it reached his eyes. He gently accepted the gesture and laced his fingers with yours. Cope squeezed your hand. With renewed eagerness, your boyfriend nodded his head in that direction you had been going towards.
All right.
Okay, now let's go. Together, you and Cope wandered the market on the lookout for any stalls that caught your attention. Cope was walking around with a spring in his step, talking about the various meals ideas he had in mind. After a while, you had to go greater distances to find something of interest. Several of the stalls were selling the same goods. It was only a matter now of which you wanted to buy from. You continued ambling down the path until Cope stopped suddenly, literally pulling you away from your thoughts. Cope? You followed his eye line. Past the crowds, immediately you knew what grabbed him. Homemade jams and local honey. The stall was glittering with quaint glass jars, stacked high, each encased in gels of varying colors. Cope's eyes were practically sparkling at the sight. His feet automatically began to take him there, likely without being fully aware he had made an unexplained detour. When you got closer, you were surprised there were even more varieties than you thought. There were even different honeys based on what type of pollen the bees used. Cope's focus seemed torn between a bottle of blackberry jam and one of clover honey. Want some honey, honey? Did you want some honey, honey? But this one, teasing. I wonder what you could possibly want to sell. Everything looks good. Dumbfounded, Cope nodded in response. His face was burning red. You grinned, way too pleased with your own joke. You thought things over for yourself too. Okay. Okay. Orange blossom honey is delicious. Let's start spring wildflower, honey butter, strawberry. It's a classic. Strawberry and clover honey, and that's everything. You paid and the shop owner started putting together your order. They carefully packed it in a couple of bags with paper. Thank you very much. Amused, you watched Cope give in and just buy both the clover honey and the blackberry jam. He also went all in, getting spring wildflower honey and plum jam too. The shop owner thoughtfully wrapped each in brown paper to protect them before putting them away in a bag. Handed the purchase to Cope.
Thank
You. You both stepped away from the stall. Cope didn't fail to notice the look you'd been giving him since he had gone ice over his toast toppers. Hey, this doesn't go bad for a long time, so why not stock up? I could have chosen one if I wanted to. Sure, and I get it. Why do you think I got so many too? Good then. As you began to stroll, Cope looked up at the sky. He smiled. It was sort of unexpected, considering all this was technically an errand, and unexpected changes often upset him. But he was happy, and Cope liked doing this kind of normal thing. And you could tell that Cope especially enjoying doing these kinds of things with you. You blushed thinking about how comfortable doing this with Cope felt. Feeling down. This one blushed that you were feeling so comfortable doing this with him. It felt more than normal or mundane. It felt right. I'm glad you're having a good time. We're so domestic. You're so domestic. We're so domestic. Cope took a sharp intake of air and started coughing for a moment. Afterwards, he looked at you and your teasing grin and chuckled.
You're right.
That is true. I like it. Later, when you spotted a less crowded area, you took a break from browsing. Cope started rummaging through one of his bags just to check on how his goods were doing. A smile grew on his face as he went on to the next. You chuckled, knowing that Cope wouldn't let anything go to waste. There wasn't a single doubt. He was gonna eat it all. You held a hand in front of your face as you squinted upwards. The sun had moved quite a bit. You'd been at the market for a good while now. Neither your feet nor your arms were sore right now. And Cope looked to be doing fine too. But that was something that could be coming. There was a price to pay for this much shopping, and it wasn't always just in money. Can you give me a piggyback ride? Could you carry my things? Want me to carry your bags? Want the piggyback ride? Want the piggyback ride? I'm gonna go with this. Cope is like 6'1", 6'3". He's tall, and we're not. Cope gave you another look until he realized that you were completely serious. He burst into laughter. Come on. You might have been short, but you were strong. His chuckling died down, but you could tell Cope was somewhat considering your offer. But he shook his head. No, I mean, I've got all these bags, and I don't really do piggyback rides. My dad was the only one I ever got them from. I can do it, Cope, and I want to give it a try. Well, He twisted in place uncomfortably while you continued to stand firm, and then he relented. Alright, we can try. A grin broke out on your face. Somehow, what was meant to be a favor for him had ended up like he was going to the trouble for you. But you had still won this round. Okay, up you go. You crashed down low for Cope to get on. Cautiously, he dropped himself against your back and wrapped his arms around your neck. He tried tucking his long legs in as you slowly stood up a bit, while you worked on getting your hands around them to help hold. But it was awkward with all the bags. Still, you continued on.
Oh my god.
That's so fucking adorable. His voice came out in a disbelieving squeak. Cope was still on while you were standing upright. You did it! His grip was so tight it was slightly uncomfortable, but there was no stopping the grin growing on your face. You knew he was gonna have a fun time. Something about the moment brought you back to the memory of the summer mall trip Cope's mom took you and your friends on. How it felt like you all were too big for the kiddie rides, but you didn't let that stop you from enjoying them anyway. Today felt like another one of those days. And with that, you and Cope continued your trip through the market together. Ma and Mom had both texted you during the trip, though only to say that they hoped you'd found some good stuff and that they'd see you later. There were no answers on where they went or why. You and Cope continued to wind your way through the bustling market. The list of outstanding items steadily shrinking while bags grew heavier. Cope must have had a fantastic view of the market from your back. You might have thought that would have helped find the produce needed, but you would have been wrong. Putting Cope closer to the sky had made it easier for him to lose his head in the clouds. You heard as much about cool birds and people's stylish share as you did about where you might find the next thing to pick up. He was just reveling in the new experience, and that was okay. Eventually, he realized that he'd not checked his phone in a while. He couldn't reach it from his current position, so you came to a stop out of the flow of foot traffic and let him hop down. Cope rearranged all the bags he was carrying, freeing a hand so that he could pull out his phone. You watched his eyes dart over the screen as he read the waiting messages. Not important. I can reply to that later. He mumbled his verdict under his breath. Then Cope's face scrunched up in confusion.
Huh?
Wait, I'm getting a message from my dad. Listen to this. Cope, I wasn't part of the plan. I didn't know what was going on when I left with Corey's mom. Where are you? He sent that ages ago. I didn't hear it come in. He sent another one since then. Says he hopes I'm alright and that he's not bothering me. The newest one says everybody's going to the parking lot soon and we can meet up there. He lowered his phone, eyes narrowed. The same conclusion that was settling on you had landed on Cope as well. So it was on purpose. He lifted the phone again, staring hard at the screen. Didn't my mom pull this stunt when we were little? You know, that time she took us to the mall? At least your mom said she was leaving. My mom's had a plan. The mall thing was spur of the moment. Is this a mom thing? Cope blinked, a slight frown furrowing his forehead. He didn't seem to know how to respond to this. The crowd of people passing by stayed as noisy as ever, a sharp contrast to the silence that had fallen over you and Cope. He was rubbing the screen of his phone against his shirt, wiping away dust and debris. He continued screwing the screen long after anything could have remained. The action a poor substitute for pushing away the awkwardness of the moment. Felt a ride, upsetting, furious, didn't care, struggling to understand it. The shock was too fresh. I'm thinking, you don't care. It hadn't shined what you'd done today, only who you'd done it with. How are they going to explain this? They can be really weird, huh?
Are you
Are
okay?
you alright? His voice was gentle. I'm peachy, I mean it. That's good. Abandoning us without a warning wasn't really a cool idea, even if they meant well, which they probably did. He looked you straight in the eyes. Not making a big deal out of this is nice. I'm not exactly thrilled, personally, so if you do want to complain to me, you can. I don't have anything to complain about. You can be kind of annoying to me. Ah, okay. Okay, now. I don't have anything to complain about. Nothing, ever? I don't know. His mouth hung open, and then he laughed.
No way.
Come on, you gotta have plenty of stuff to complain about just from the stunts I pulled myself, let alone what's happened today. He cracked a grin at that. Despite yourself, he could certainly be a troublemaker when he wanted to be, but he could also be so kind. After a moment, he stepped away from you, face turned. Cope closed his eyes and took a deep breath. His brow creased, then forward deeper into a skull, his arms tightly coiling together. So they did do something stupid, I knew it. His voice had taken on an exaggerated quality, but what truly distinguished it from Cope's typical speaking tone was the abundance of rage. This is such a chore. Parents are so dumb. Why do people have to go places with family members anyway? I hate them. And I also hate farmers markets. You got it instantly. It'd been years since Jeremy visited your town for the summer, and he had changed greatly nowadays, but Cobb never forgot that experience. To this day, he continued to unleash his impersonation of Jeremy's younger self whenever the moment felt right. You burst out laughing. Jeremy's never gonna leave that town, huh? Not ever. Cobb gave you a lopsided smile, letting the joke rest for now. Come on, you should probably go meet up with the group. Yep. You didn't dally any longer, slipping back into the crowd and making your way towards the entrance of the farmer's market. Screw them farmer's markets. I don't think I've ever been to one. But they seem fun, I guess. It didn't take long to reach the parking lot. Your parents, Mr. Holden and Liz, were already waiting there, and they waved at you both as you approached. Your own family seemed to be in pretty good moods, in contrast to Mr. Holden. He stared at Cobb with open concern as you got closer. Hey bud, hey Curry, how you doing? We'd be doing better if we hadn't been abandoned in a farmer's market by our families. You saw your mom's frowning at his response, Matt glancing from Cobb to Mom with blinking eyes. Just because Curry tries to make things a good time no matter what, doesn't mean you can just leave her out of your plans and expect her to go with it every time. Ma hung her head ashamed, and Mom had a hand pressed to her cheek. You could tell that they were quickly regretting their scheme.
I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry, Curry. Her words were full of emotion. Mom squeezed Ma's arm. We were trying to make the errand more of a trip, less of a chore. Ma nodded. We didn't think you, Cobb, and Liz wanted to be stuck trudging around the market with your parents all day, especially not in the summer. But you're always very thoughtful and don't like to leave your moms behind, so we did ourselves. It was only going to be for the market, not the other stops, I promise. Still, you're right. We could have just told you and let you make your own call. I really am sorry. Neither of us meant to upset you.
I'm really sorry.
All gas, no brakes. And we should have known better. Sorry. Matt ditched me too. After pulling out her urgent potty break stunt, if that helps, I went off to do my own shopping. So it seems they planned.
Sorry.
Sir didn't check back in with you. I wasn't thinking and just tried to blow it off. You quietly took in their stories of what happened. Over to the side, Cobb was talking to his dad. Thanks for telling me something was up. Though I feel bad for missing the warning when you sent it.
You're welcome.
It's not trouble, sport. I learned my lesson about making surprise plans. Cobb smiled at his dad. Mr. Holden, laughing, clapped Cobb on the back.
Not bad.
Wow, we're really being outplayed today. Mom realized you hadn't been the only onlookers to the Holden's moment. Your moms were exchanging rueful looks. Liz had her arms crossed over her chest, partially watching it all unfold. Patiently watching it all unfold. Yes, looks like it. We'd better find some way to catch up.
In that case.
Maybe we can do Corey's chores for the next week. Mom jabbed Ma on the shoulder. You might be onto something. Corey, how do you like the sound of that? They looked at you hopefully. Make it 2 weeks. I'll think about you. You don't have to do anything. I was never mad. That's wonderful. We'll still do better. Come on. And at the very least, we can make sure everyone stays together for the rest of the stops we're making today. We all nodded at the suggestion.
Yes.
We won't lay you down. We'll be the best sheepdogs ever, guarding the flock and catching any strays.
Funny.
We could at least be shepherds. You chuckled in your mood lifting in spite of the bumpy morning. It was going to be alright. You turned to the entrance of the farmer's market for one final glance, pressing it into your memory under this new light. You thought on what you'd picked up at the market and how you were going to enjoy it later. Some things you could only get from local suppliers like this. That was another perk about coming along to the market today. Actually, you realized this would be a good time to bring out the fudge you got to share while everyone was clustered together. Your attention, please. I have something for you all. The announcement grabbed everyone's attention, and they looked over at you, each curious about what you had in store. You ducked your hand into the bag and pulled out the specially selected treat. There was this great fudge stall, and, being so kind and generous, I got a box for us to try together. Oh,
Aw.
that's so sweet of you. The Holdens were wearing matching greens at the prospect of free dessert, their family resemblance more notable as they mirrored each other's expression. Sweet is the right word for this. Thanks very much, Corey.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
You're
Great.
fantastic.
Can't wait to bust it open. We should save it for tonight. You can't properly enjoy a treat when there's still chores to be done. Besides, we don't want to make a mess with it melting in this heat. The others murmured their agreement and nodded. Reaching a consensus, you stowed the box away safely for now. Cope then sidled up next to you, an eager smile on his face. You could tell from his expression that he was up to something. Thanks again for getting fudge. It was really cool of you. You knew he hadn't come over just to thank you individually, not with that huge smirk. I got something to share too, but well, only really with you. I guess I'm not as nice. Oh well. You've been plotting your own scheme? He laughed. Anyway, well, I sort of picked something out with you in mind. You held a hand to your chest, staring at Cobb as he explained further.
I mean,
Since your mom's decided we should shop separately, I figured I could use the time to get you something, just as a little surprise. He reached into one of the bags and retrieved one of the wrapped up objects. You accepted the unexpected present, and he looked on excitedly as you tore off the paper. It was a coffee drink in a glass bottle. You need to taste it to know it would be good. It was a boutique product. It was heavy in your hands, the container and smart metal cap reaffirming the quality. Even the label, constructed from coarse paper rather than a flimsy sheet of plastic, was distinctive. You're practically bouncing in anticipation, and he smiled sweetly at your reaction. It's not a big deal, but I just thought you might like it. You're so wonderful. I can't believe we both got each other something. His eyes began to widen. I got something for you too, when you weren't around. There was a burst of laughter, first from your mom, followed by a chorus of chuckles from the other three. You'd forgotten that they were still hanging around. Unfortunately, they hadn't paid you and Cobb the same courtesy, and had been listening in on your conversation. You weren't even apart for a whole day, and you both still used that as a chance to get each other little gifts. Mac clasped her hands together, eyes bright.
Good job.
That's so lovely. A day? It was just done a whole morning.
Right?
True. I don't even want to think about what happens when you spend real time apart. That's my boy. You reached back into the bag where you had first retrieved the box of fudge for everyone, shuffling it aside to take out the other one underneath. You smirked widely, amused that the others were still watching you. The first box was for the rest of the people to split among themselves, but I got an extra special one. All for you. Co's face lit up, his grin stretching from ear to ear. The laughter that came from the others, who were fully tuned into your little show, didn't appear to reach him.
seriously?
Really? It's only for me? Cope took the box of fudge in one hand and claimed one of your hands with the other. He used the hold he had to lead you closer to him, while he lifted the hand to his mouth and peppered kisses over your knuckles. Thank you, thank you, thank you. He looked at you with shining eyes. At this rate, it wouldn't just be your little group that knew that you'd been treating him. The whole parking lot was going to learn about it. Behind Cobb, you could see Mom watching you both with a smile of hilarity. See? This is why he's so attached. You've spoiled him. You shouldn't make fun, Pam. It's clearly mutual. Besides, I don't hear you complaining when I'm spoiling you. Ma pinched Mom's cheek, making her laugh as she batted the hand away.
True.
True. Liz clapped her hands together, with the air of a teacher calling for attention. Since the other adults aren't acting like grown-ups, the rest of us are going to have to pick up the slack. It's time to get back on schedule and continue with the rest of the errands. Playtime is officially over. Ma laughed while Mr. Holden grinned awkwardly. Mom hung her head in an exaggerated display of mock defeat. Kids are tough, and I can't even call them kids anymore. Liz tut-tutted with amusement at her mother. Cope shrugged, staying a neutral observer, but the small smile on his face revealed that he was enjoying the conclusion. Sorry, that term has expired. You grinned, letting them know that you were at least partly joking. Though really, you and Cove and Liz could hardly be called kids these days. You were glad that everyone was getting along. With that, your trip to the farmer's market was closed. It was time to move on. There were too many of you for one car, so you and Cove had wound up in Mr. Holden's car on the way over. You figured it made sense to do the same for the next leg of the journey. You sat next to Cove in the back. Immediately after the click of the seatbelt and its lock announced that Cove was safely strapped in, he began to unfold the box of fudge he'd been given. "You gonna eat now?" "Uh-huh." He nodded eagerly, not taking his eyes from the container. He lifted the top off and longingly admired the selection inside. Milk chocolate fudge is a staple. You can never go wrong with that. I love nuts in fudge. I love nuts anyway. Fair enough, Cove, you love nuts. But the contrast between the crunchy beets nuts and the soft, squishy fudge is great. Is the green fudge lime? Yeah, key lime. That's amazing because it's fudge but also fruity somehow. Red fudge. That's gonna be red velvet flavor. You're right. Knew it. Delicious. I love red velvet. Once Cove had finished bestowing praise on what he'd picked, he promptly started sampling the selection. He was smiling, licking his lips and having a grand old time. You could also tell from the way his nibbling was turning into munching that the box wasn't going to survive the trip to the next shop. You were right. Cove had tried to savor the treats, claiming just one more until there was only one left, and the statement was finally forced to be true. He finished the last one too. He sighed contentedly.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Corey. Those really were great. You're welcome. He set the picked clean box to the side, then rested his hand on his spoiled tummy. Cove wasn't going to be hungry for a while after that. From there, he sat wordlessly, gaze drifting to the window. You knew Cove well enough to spot the signs of when he was physically present, but mentally elsewhere. The way he would fall quiet, staring without seeing. The long blinks, all of which he was doing right now, as he looked at nothing in particular. He licked his fingers absent-mindedly, getting the last of the melted fudge off his hand. You were pleased he'd enjoyed it so much? Is it too late to ask for a taste? Cove stared up at the sound of your voice, his pose stiff. He turned away, his hand smacking over his mouth instead. You waggled your eyebrows at him jokingly. So, what were you so lost in thought about? Well, I was thinking about how nice you are. How nice I am? Yeah. His face grew redder as his hands clenched around the top of his knees. You stared at him, hoping for an explanation, but Cove simply ducked his head. When he next spoke, his voice was barely more than a whisper. I'm lucky I get to be with you. Sweet, lucky, happily blush. I feel lucky too. He peeked at you from the corner of his eyes, still too shy to look at you directly. You smiled at him affectionately, eliciting an equally caring smile from Cove in return. You felt content, secure in your relationship with Cove. You decided to enjoy your drink now. You twisted off the cap and brought it to your mouth. Even before the first sip reached your lips, the scent tickled your nostrils. You took a swig, and it was refreshing. The perfect way to hit the spot after a long morning trawling through the market. Not bad at all. Thanks, Cove. He grinned at you, pleased that his pick had been well received.
You're welcome.
You spent the rest of the day completing the remaining errands, all together, as a group. You had enjoyed your brief independence, you were glad that you'd closed the day with everyone. Let's go with this one. It might not have come under the ideal circumstances, but it had provided you with an opportunity to spend time making your own choices. You felt that you'd risen to the challenge. Alright. Short and sweet, this one. Alright. We have Charity Drive, boating and late shift. Tough. Tough. I think, however, that I will leave it here for tonight. Yeah. I'll leave it here for tonight. Guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for coming. Hit the like button and the subscribe button if you haven't already. And I'll see you next time, okay? Take care, have fun, and good night.